cut the cable. I don't care. I mean, I cut that umbilical cable cord on a long time ago.
Yeah, I should. I really don't watch anything actually. By the way, we're live. We're going.
Oh,
We're live.
cool.
The only thought was, you know, in case something comes up that I'd want to record it and then put it up on YouTube. That way people would see it. But people already do that anyway. People kind of when they see something, they just put it up. But the only problem with that is you can get strikes. You get copyright strikes.
Screw copyright strikes. They're worthless.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, it's media anyway. They just want to capitalize off of copyrights. I mean, that's what it is. It's just, you know, a form of capitalization off of copyright.
Yeah, I mean, it's true, because before you get a copyright strike, they see if they can monetize it. Right? They see if it's worth monetizing on your channel. And I think if they can't, they just give you a copyright strike.
Yeah, that's why they're too bitch. It's failed policy on copyright. I mean, copyright should just be over and done with already. I can care less for copyright anyway.
I feel like...
Here's one thing. It's going to get copied anyway. Who fucking cares if you lose out on money? You're going to make... Here's one thing. Here's what they do need to realize. Hey, Broken. Here's what they do need to realize. That... Here's one thing. The company is going to make a shit ton of money anyway. And they're overloaded with that kind of money anyway. What's going to make the difference? And plus, you know, if people that actually truly support it will actually buy it. I mean, I actually really learned a lot from the South Park episode. You know, the music downloading. I know it's still not a big deal, and they, you know, people lose out on money and revenue and stuff like that. But at the very end of the episode, people are going to support, you know, wanting to support that content, no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some things that actually do deserve its money, and some that actually don't really deserve the money.
Like, I think it might be harder for one starting out, like smaller, kind of unknown, either musicians, artists, or like people who make media, content media, whatever. But I mean, right now, that's everyone's starting out by doing, you know, a little bit. It's not even a lot from ad revenue anymore. You know, it's through donations, Kickstarters and things like that. If not Patreons, like monthly things. And I don't know, I feel like, yeah, the technology is going to get there where people can just play it all the time. I think people will find a way around things until it's like the cops and robbers, or was it, or thieves and like locks. Remember? So every time a new lock comes in, a thief has to catch up, and they'll figure out a way to unlock it.
Yeah.
Because have you seen those YouTube streams where they're like 24-hour YouTube streams, of like Futurama,
like
Family Guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's that deal? What's that deal? I clicked on once, and it was just an episode of. What's the deal? How do they get around copyright? By never ending?
Yeah, by never ending. Because the YouTube, the algorithm, I think right now can only check when it's not live. So when the live session ends, then they can check and see if there's copyright stuff. But what they do is before it ends, they delete it. So so there might be some type of timer, like you can't stream for longer than someone mentioned 8 hours, but I think we've gone 8 hours before. You could it ends maybe 24 hours. So after every 24 hours, they'll just delete the previous live stream, and they started up a new one. So the YouTube algorithm can never catch up and see if there's any copyright issues. It's pretty smart.
Hey man, you know, there's some of these things I figure, what the hell? I mean, it's not like a lot of people tune into it and just, like they're losing some huge revenue off of it. I can't imagine. Well, I don't know. I mean, because you guys have seen it. It's actually been up. It came up in my recommendeds. And the thing about it was, I've never watched like any Futurama clips or any clips of anything like that, that would get me. So it had to figure me from a political bent or something that they started giving me. I don't know. I mean, seriously, because they had to cross-section me somehow, right?
I think it's because you watch me and I just watch all the feature.
Well, I mean, it could be because I touch around every edge around that, but I can't remember ever doing that. So
are you waiting all night for the you're mentioning on the DM, Eric?
Oh, Sonic Mania is going to come out at midnight.
Now I'm lost. Is that Sonic the Hedgehog? I feel old, but
yeah,
okay.
It's like a kind of like they kind of bring back like the classic Sonic the Hedgehog, But of course, I have a few of the stages from old Sonic the Hedgehog games and new ones.
I knew Sonic the Hedgehog and Sonic and the Fox, the first one. We had a Sega.
Oh, yeah. The gosh, what's the Fox? I want to guess it before.
Tails, Miles per Hour.
Yes, Tails, because in that one you could do like split screens.
That's right.
But that was like the most addictive fucking game, man. I mean, me and both. I mean, we had a kid your age, like just one kid, when we got that thing, and it was like we would trade times, to watch it, sort of listen for the sleep baby. Who would go get the baby while the other one would play? Like she would nurse and I'd play, whatever. Or she would, it was funny. It was. Because I'd come home from work or something, she'd go, "Hey, I found this new thing. You got to check this out. You go to here, and then you dig, and you bust right through it." I was like, "Wow, that's cool." Yeah, but it was always like we were trading off ways to get through this game.
Yeah.
But it was far enough back that it was. I mean, like when we played Madden football on that thing, it was. Very, very, looking back at it, it was archaic compared to what they have now,
Yeah.
Sonic 3, that's my favorite one, and plus I have the Knuckles lock on, so you could play Sonic and Knuckles.
Well, I like Knuckles. That sounds like something I played. That one sounds like something. Maybe I got that for. I don't know. I got something that had a bunch of. It had like the throwback game, and then it had another game connected with it. I don't know. It was on 360, I think.
But I like Sonic the Hedgehog 3. It's so much fun. That's like the Sonic game I will always keep replaying over and over and over again.
I love games that we can replay. The replayability is like hundreds of hours.
Each time is different.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I played here. I played also besides Battlefield. I played. My son got it, so I mean we kind of have a mutual game thing. I don't know how that works, but the driving one for Xbox. I can't think of it now. Oh shit! What is that game? You light it up. Anyhow, it's a driving game, and you drive. It's like racing. I can't believe it, man. It's like I haven't driven a driving game forever. So this driving game, I'm suddenly driving it and then watching my hilarious playbacks, because some of my playbacks, my driving was so freaking ugly. I was definitely playing like NASCAR rules in these like cars that weren't meant for NASCAR. You know, I was just bumping every corner. I'm bumping people out of the way and shit. But then you do the replay. I can't believe how realistic it all looks, man.
Yeah.
They're getting that kind of stuff down. About the only thing I've noticed is hair. Hair is still the only thing that's really tough for them to sort of
Oh,
animate.
they've got it now. They've got hair down to science. Just watch any type of Final Fantasy. They start using the cutting edge stuff of hair in all their on other CGI. So back in, I'm pretty sure you might have a story like this, Eric. But so back in 2003, around there, I worked on Rise of Nations at Microsoft. So we had a team of 4. So what's cool is before it's released, we can play any game that Microsoft makes. So we played Freelancer. It's just kind of a space game. It's free form. You can go any direction, level up.
Wow.
And so right after work, we were working late. We worked like 10, 11 hours. Our group stayed. It was just me and 3 other guys. And we played Freelancer. We kept playing it until it was like 3 in the morning. And then we were like thinking, you know what? Should we go home and sleep so we're ready the next day, or should we keep going? And so we kept going, except one of the guys left, and he went to sleep. So us 3, we stayed up and we kept playing. And like we're running out of time. We wanted to see, like, we're way far off from completing the game, but I figured out a way to kind of hack the game a little bit, so we could get all the best stuff and unlimited money. So we got beefed up, and we explored like all the galaxies, and we had the best ships and everything, except the next day we were just so tired working the next 8 to 10 hours, but it was worth it. Because those are the nights that you remember when you're just so tired the next day.
It's all
that game was Forza 5.
Yeah, Forza is really good at their stuff. They've got meticulous detail. So when you test, they actually have testers that test like an actual image and then the computer screen for specific part of like the car. And if there's any details wrong, then it's a bug. That's how much detail they go into it.
Yeah, I mean it's sweet looking, and I mean even the damage of the car and everything else, it's pretty cool. Yeah. I had one where I sat on a wall and just like eventually flipped over and ended up on my wheels again and kept going. It was a very cool looking video because it looked like I stood it up on the nose. So it came into a corner too fast and got inched out on the corner, and it stood up on the corner and it stayed there for a little while. And I had revved the engine and crap. Finally, it fell down. I also do Battlefront. That was that Star Wars one.
Oh,
but
yeah.
then it was like nobody played it, and it wasn't as good as everybody expected it to be.
Did you? This last one, the one that was released like 3 years ago?
Battlefront, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it was okay. It wasn't too
I mean,
good.
I liked playing it, but it was like you'd go in now and try to find a game to play and nobody's there. So it's like, it's desolate. It's hard to, I like playing online games because I like shooting at other people that are sentient beings. I like the idea of, I mean, it's like playing tag as a little kid or playing army as a little kid, except for you've got a never-ending bunch of guys, or at least for you, never-ending. Maybe the team loses if you lose too many times, but.
Yeah. Just speaking of news, I saw recently that they created an AI that can learn on its own. And it beat one of the best Dota 2 players. I don't play Dota 2. But yeah, he was saying like he couldn't. I mean, there's probably a way to beat it, but he couldn't at that time. So now we've got they made AI so it learns and can beat human players at video games. And it's not like, you know, the AI where it's like accelerates its resources or its speed or whatever. But I mean, I could see it. I mean, there's games where you can make it so it's kind of almost a hack. Just you know, it knows where you are. It can fix the reticule to wherever it sees you. So it always has
It's like invincibility.
yeah.
That's that. You know, that's the thing. I mean, you have to figure out. You have to give it enough. You have to build in enough of a flaw so that it's more human like. Otherwise, it's going to be, you know, it's just going to be like a cyborg that always, you know, sits there and never dies. You know, if you were playing against that in a game, that would be maddening as hell because there'd be no way around it, and unless you had to sacrifice a bunch of people to get it, that was the only way. But you know what I mean?
It's like the Borg in Star Trek. I like to think of it as you can. It's a lot of strategies. Sometimes you can't use it except once, because once the other person knows about it, they can figure out a way to prevent you from winning just by changing something different about the way that they normally do things. So that would be kind of tough, having to figure out a new way to win every time that's never been tried before, until this AI learns it. That's the scary thing about what is it?
Yeah, but the AI learns. The AI learns because the AI plays like an infinite number of players.
Mm-hmm. They can play themselves too.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. When there's nobody there, they're still playing. So I mean, you know, you got to figure if you were doing like in Battlefield, you go from 1 up to 100 or whatever, you know, through each one, and so you got a guy that starts and like is instantly. He's like one of these sniper dudes or one of those guys that sits in a helicopter and just kills people at will, you know. I mean, there's some people that just, I don't know. I like playing in things I know I will lose at. Like, I don't fly helicopters. I can't fly them things worth a damn, man. I crash everything. Planes. I mean, I can drive shit because it's on the ground, but that up and down stuff eventually gets me, you know. And so I stay away from. I will sit and be a gunner, but I'll never. But there are guys that do nothing but that, or nothing but be a sniper, and it's just like it gets pretty old, especially if you get into one where it's like 15 snipers on one team and one guy that isn't a sniper, and so the only way to win is to like go up in hills and pick off these guys one by one, and then they reappear and drive up there and get new positions. And it's, I don't know. I always like it when it's more just straight on infantry guys running each other and shooting like crazy.
Yeah, I like the original Call of Duty, the first two games, and also Medal of Honor. Those were really good multiplayer. They're really outdated now. But
yeah, I remember Medal of Honor. I played that one too. I played like. My son told me a bunch of the good shooting games, so I've got like every one I used, because I got that was the coolest way to buy games, because I'm always out of date. It's rare that I buy something and it's brand new. And
that's the perfect way.
So I always buy things that I already know people have said are good, because I've been burned. You know, I've been burned on Battlefield. I was lucky I didn't buy that Battlefield Hardline.
Yeah, well, here's the thing about brand new games. Not only are they expensive, I mean, just the game itself is like $60, but then if there's like the pre-sale where they'll give you like specific things in game and out of game, they're like $80, and then they have this like super duper exclusive bundle where it's like $110, and then the game comes out, and these games are never finished products when they come out. You're basically playing an unfinished product right at the get-go, and you're playing like over $100 if you have this special bundle. But then, you know, you wait like 3 months to half a year, see whether if it's good, the bugs get finished and fleshed out, the balance is better, and then you know, the game's like half price. It's like $30, and then you
Or,
wait a
you
full
know,
year, it's like $10.
yeah,
It's
and
actually
if you buy the game and then you go in the store like in Battlefield, you could buy like the setup for the infinite maps and stuff, which is nice actually, because if you buy each map bundle or whatever they call them, it starts to cost money. But if you just buy the one thing for, you know, $35 or whatever it is, it's like $35 because it ends up being basically $100 for the game and the upgrade. Yeah, you know,
Where are
and
you
like
gonna?
there's stages. Like I got burnt on this the latest from Battlefield 1, because I bought the wrong one. I bought the one that was like, it was just like an upgrade for like 4 guns or something, a little bit of bullshit. I didn't realize it. So I want maps.
Yeah,
You know, that's what I like.
Eric, you're gonna say something? Sorry.
oh, like I have a Best Buy like a discount where I can get like new games 20% off. So that's what I actually use if I want something new or wait for something to go on sale.
Yeah.
Right on.
How do you get that 20% off at Best Buy?
Uh,
Is it just for
20%.
games?
Yes, and also amiibos too.
Okay.
Like the little the Nintendo figures I collect.
Yeah. That's pretty good too.
It's really good. But it's a good thing that I can get 20% off on new video games.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and you got one of those thingies. You got one of them thingies.
Switch, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Well,
so
I only
you
have
almost
one
got-
game for it.
Yeah, I mean, but eventually you're going to have to buy like a new game because there won't be enough old games out yet. So, you know, I mean, that's the way that always goes. But it's always cool to have the latest. And I saw you with it. And I thought, oh man, that looks hip.
Oh, I love it. I only have The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild at the moment.
Well, I like this Xbox One. I really like it. It's cool with me. You know, it does like all the sundry. I sort of poo-pooed it when they originally said, "Oh, you'll use it to do all your video stuff," and like I don't have it plugged into my cable. I don't figure on sharing any more of my watching data with anybody more than I have to. You know,
So-
Yeah.
like I've got it hooked in so that it's in my it's hooked into well, the TV's hooked into stereo, so everything goes stereo. So like I can put music on YouTube on the television and put it through the stereo and it's grooving, you know, but
so
I do end up using it like they said. I just poo-pooed it at first.
yeah, I've got Xbox One, but I mainly play on my PC. The reason I keep getting like PS3, Xbox One, or whatever, or is it PS4 now? You know, was because my friends, they don't play PC games. So, and my brother plays more Xbox One type games now than PC. The one game that I am excited about getting is State of Decay 2. That's still in development, but State of Decay is kind of a survival zombie game. So the first one was you find an area where you can secure and defend against zombie hordes. Then you go out and expand and gather resources, weapons, more characters to help defend and all this stuff. So the second one's going to be a lot better. It's going to be co-op, so you can get anyone and you can do that together. And I think they have it, so they're bringing back kind of like what they did with Shadowrun a long time ago. So people who are on the PC can play with people who are on the Xbox. Since it's going to be co-op, they don't need to make sure that one doesn't have the advantage over another.
Guess what I'm getting for my laptop in October?
What is
South
that?
Park, The Fractured Butthole. Hey, at least I get South Park Stick of Truth for free.
Yeah.
Well,
But
I
I don't
think
have Stick of Truth on my PC, but I have it for my PlayStation 3, though.
I think Battlefield 3, I think that one was cross-platform. And so you could play with people on any platform. And the people on PCs, I thought you ran a PC because it seems that all the best gamers were on PCs rather than on consoles. Just because they could do crazy upgrades and stuff with their PCs that I don't know.
Well,
Or just the mouse and shoot thing was better or something. I don't
yeah,
know.
because the speed at which you can turn your axes is a lot faster with a mouse than it is a controller. Hey, Olis.
Hey,
And so it's a little unfair when someone with a controller. The thing is, there are some crazy good gamers who play on console. They're like, they can jump, turn in the air, shoot, snipe someone, and then land, and then jump again, and do the same thing, switch weapons, and use something like another weapon and kill someone, and then they'll just. It's pretty good how people are doing in console games.
Yeah, I know, they kill me all the time. I'm the one that always in Battlefield. They always take your dog tags. They slit your throat, take your dog tags. That's a big deal. I ain't using no knife when I got a gun in my hand. If I'm standing right behind you, every time I've tried to knife somebody, I'm too far away or something, and the guy sees me and shoots me. Whatever happened, the least. If a grenade will work, I will do a grenade. Like, I'm the guy that if I see somebody's got me, I'm gonna grab a grenade as soon as I can, so that if I die, the grenade falls and blows up and hopefully takes them out too. That's my last sort of finger to the establishment as I'm falling down.
Yeah. And I play around too much too. Like, I'm the one of the guys who'll sneak up on you, and I'll just stay sneaking up on you. I won't kill you until you turn around and realize you've been followed for the last 10 seconds. The only problem with that is sometimes they'll just turn around randomly and just shoot you and you're dead. And I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have played around. But
like a Jason Voorhees type of stalker. You don't know when he's there until you just boom.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the guy that throws out, like, if you can like, one guy can do landmines, one guy can do claymores that are just automated claymores, and so it's just like, if I can do that, I'll throw a bunch of those. I'll throw however many I can around. Like, if on games where it's mines, I'll just, like, the one game you could jump off the building and then float, with your parachute. So I'd jump and float, and just throw out mines as I was floating, because I knew where they would land. I'd land them on the street, and then it didn't matter. I could always try to get a kill, like a cheap kill, because I take them any way I can get them.
Yeah. All right, you guys got company. I'm gonna go and crash.
Okay, you have yourself a good one, and you take care.
You guys got.
We'll see.
Here you go.
We'll see what the next big shooter is, Evan. That maybe we could play cross-platform, and we'll.
Yeah, I'll play Xbox One too. I mean, I have it. I feel bad not using it. I mean, I still have games that I want to play. Like, they're just still sealed in their little package. I'm like, I thought I had time to play it, and that was like 3 months ago. Or 4 months ago. It's like, oh boy. One day.
Dad. I remember that, Dad. You gotta figure out all your time, all your TV time and stuff, because eventually they get big enough they can see the news and stuff. So we had to stop. I had to stop watching as much news and playing around their naps and stuff to catch whatever I could, because, well, back when I had kids, they didn't have internet. I couldn't just stream something on a laptop and watch it with headphones or something. But
yeah,
anyhow, yeah,
it's a lot harder back then.
You had to be, well, I mean, you just have to be careful, but because little dudes shouldn't be hearing about people being run down by cars or whatever. I mean, they're little people, and the world should still be there's nothing that's going to happen that mom or dad can't take care of, kind of thing was always my theory.
Yeah. Good. That's a good one. All right.
Even if I was dying of
Take care,
worry
Ebon.
the whole
Thank
time, I was shaking, worrying the whole time because I felt like as a dad, you got to worry about health and safety all the time. That's like your job. Is why is that kid so close to it? Why is that kid doing that? You know, you got it. So like I got to be so pesty that my wife would like, oh God, don't when they were little and they'd start choking. Oh, my wife was so afraid I'd Heimlich the kids because I'd jump up as soon as I saw them start choking. She'd say, no, don't do anything. Don't do it. I'd be like running around the table to get to the kid. My wife would be, no. And eventually he would choke up whatever it was to swallow it and learn how to.
All right. Carry on.
Take care,
Later,
Ebon.
bro.
Take care, yeah.
So what's up, Snort?
Not much.
So, are we talking about Charlottesville today, or are we gonna try and shift to other things?
Well, it's anything goes. So
I figured it was the other night. It was just sort of about. I figured it was about having fun. So I figured tonight was a good time at any to talk about whatever. But
Yeah. Obviously, Saturday was kind of
a rough one.
Saturday was kind of a rough one, and you know, I think a lot of us were just trying to distract ourselves away from that and let the ground settle before we started talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's terrible what happened now.
No, I agree on that. In particular to what happened to the young lady who went out there to participate in the counter protest, as well as the two officers that were in the helicopter attempting to respond to the situation.
and the 19 others that were hit by the car.
Obvious, yes. Thank you. So obviously, I think it goes without saying that our hearts reach out to him. And as an anarchist, giving and a socialist generally, it's a rare day for me to actually genuinely reach out to police officers for condolence. It's becoming an increasing rarity for me to reach out to police officers for condolences, but I think in this case it's warranted.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, maybe to a certain degree, but I would have to. If you watch the video and how those cops handled that whole thing, they instigated, escalated, and just made everything worse. And both sides were idiots. I mean, the counter protesters and the white supremacists, so-called all unite the right bullshit. They're all fucking idiots. This reeks of government bullshit.
Here's my thing about that is I'm sorry, but you know, it's like I've said before, Antifa is on my left, but I won't punch left. And you know, from what I saw, those are hard. First off, the neo-Nazis and the Klan members and those guys brought in, you know, Proud Boys, everything that Identity Europa, all those different groups came together. This was an organizing event. This is exactly the kind of thing that you're supposed to counter protest. You know, and all these guys, you know, they brought a militia.
What happened to people's rights to free speech?
Don't bring that in.
Wait a second.
No, I'm trying to be fair.
Wait a second. Wait a second. I will not.
Because he said Antifa, and then he targets. I mean, basically.
No, wait a second. Exactly, and that's why I want to.
And the far ends of both of them are insane.
But you can't equate being against fascism with being a fascist. That's just
You can't equate Antifa with anti-fascism when they use fascist tactics.
No, I'm sorry, but in general, I mean, in general, I'm sorry, but when actual,
I'm not making any excuses from the other side, so I don't know why you're laughing.
No, wait a second. I'm just
not you, Areolas.
Because one.
Well, no, I'm just. Let me say this. I will agree that I thought that one of the problems was the cops should be in between the two groups. It's always that way. You know, and don't tell me about officer safety and none of that. That's what they're paid for. What about the people?
Exactly. They were supposed to be in the middle, and they didn't.
Well, but you know, your free speech rights. Here's the thing about it: is all these alt-right groups think their free speech rights mean that there can't be groups there trying to drown them out or anything else. That is perfectly cool, but I don't. You know, and I know that there are elements of the black bloc, and there are elements of, well, there are certainly people that came with, you know, the Klan came with their shields and all their bullshit. I mean, you know, it was, they came looking for a fight.
Both of them did.
But no, you can't say that. I mean, just to say.
The hell they didn't. I found videos of both of them attacking each other.
No, wait a second, Kevin, you can't say that both sides, because to equate the peaceful Nazis that weren't involved with the actual hitting of people with the peaceful protesters that were protesting.
See, that's kind of crazy. You frame it as if all the counter protesters are peaceful automatically, and then you frame it as all those other people are Nazis.
I'm not saying they're all peaceful, but what I'm saying is, if they just arrested the people that aren't peaceful, you would have, you know, very few people that were arrested, because all they needed to do was arrest a few people. It would have been a lot cooler. And if they'd have done it in plain clothes and just kept everybody cool, because they could have done that, you know, because once then here's what I didn't see. And here's what you never see at one of these things. You will never see police officers throw flashbang grenades.
Nope, you did not see that. That is a valid argument there. The cops did not respond as they did in other situations.
You will never see them firing them at the protesters.
Yes,
the neo-Nazis and stuff. It never happens that way.
I agree with that. But I'm not making an excuse for either of them. But
here's the thing. I think even
the cops allowed this to happen.
But here's the thing: even within the black bloc, there's Antifa people within the black bloc that are violent. There are black bloc people that are violent, but there are also people in the black bloc that aren't violent. You know what I mean? So
yeah, same thing goes for those other group of people.
But this one, I'll tell you, in this one though, here's the thing: you can't say there wasn't many black bloc people there as there were people with their faces spread out in the open. So
there wasn't a literal black bloc. That's not a group. That's a tactic.
But yes, exactly. So to say that the anti-fascists, that there is a problem with Antifa being the instigators of violence, I don't know. I just, you can't, as far as that's considered, I think that both sides instigate violence. There's no doubt about that. It's just, you can't, here's my thing, just morally, you can't equate, you know, fighting against fascism with fascism. It's just, you know, otherwise we live in a surreal world, because I grew up in a world where Nazis were bad and, you know, Klansmen were bad. I mean, if we were going to talk about somebody that was bad and as somebody everybody could agree with that we should dislike, it was those people.
Okay.
So, I mean, and the idea that skirmishes happen around Klan rallies or Nazi rallies is not new. You know, I mean, that's always.
I do want to say that they had a permit to hold that protest and everything, and they were nonviolent to begin with. They were saying crazy shit, and some of them were nuts, but they were nonviolent to begin with.
But the thing is, you don't need a permit to counter protest. I'm sorry, it's free speech.
Well, apparently, to the law, we do. But I get what you're saying. You don't need a permit.
You're on a sidewalk. You don't need to, and whatever. If you aren't on the sidewalk, if you want to take to the streets and you got enough people, you can do that too. I mean, it's just, I'm saying that
this was literally both of them looking for a fight.
But there isn't a moral
equation. Literally carrying weapons.
But the number on both sides was drastically different. And once again, I would point out that one side came with arms. One side came. So the
shields and things like that.
Idea, but no. I'm talking about Bushmasters and AK-47s and all the
firearms.
Yeah. They brought their own little. Hey, don't. Here's my thing.
Did anybody fire off any of those firearms?
Did they have a chance to? I mean, here's my thing.
There was a group where people are attacking each other like crazy. I assume they had a lot of chances.
The only thing, but when is it okay? If they get hit by a stick, is it okay? They're standing there in body armor. No. I mean, so we have to figure out
weapons to protest.
Well, but if somebody hits them with the stick off their sign, whatever, because that's the way the everybody's been carrying. That's been. This is my thing. This isn't new. Charlottesville is not a new thing, guys. These people have been organizing from the day Trump came into office.
Yep.
They've been organizing. They organized in Seattle at the Milo thing. What happens there? A woman shoots one of the counter protesters, and eventually they figure out, they were bragging about coming in and, like blowing through the protesters or whatever.
The one thing I want to bring up is every time there's a counter protest, you see the opposition get stronger. Do you notice that?
But what you're saying,
this is a self-perpetuating problem.
This is the first time that the counter protest got anything but bad press. That's what I'm saying. Everybody's suddenly against Nazis and stuff, and neo-Nazis. And that's part of this damn bandwagon. These people suddenly finding Jesus and finding out that maybe we should be protesting these people peacefully, and I'm cool, I'm cool with anybody coming late to the party. It's just they got to admit that they had spent a lot of time bad-mouthing the people in the DSA and the ISA and the Wobblies and all the groups, the labor groups, all the peace groups, all the anarchists and communists that have been coming together and protesting these people all along. So, I mean, there's been peaceful protesters all along, and in many areas, in like Portland, they actually pulled a permit, and so that they had a separate permit from Antifa, so that the black bloc people had their own space within a park. All the people pulled a permit had their space, and so did the people from the, they call it free speech, but it isn't free speech. It's right-wing organizing. It's like alt-right, neo nationalism.
The one thing is if there's an alt-right, there must be an alt-left too.
Shit.
Bull fucking shit. What do you think Antifa is?
The far left.
People have literally thrown Molotovs.
Far left.
Look at what the white fucking Nazi people. I mean, they are doing the same things.
Yeah,
these people are acting in the same manner.
Look, asshole. One is in
there. You devolved to insults now?
Wait. Alias.
You do not understand.
Wait a second. Alias.
No, wait a second.
Easy. Don't jump on something.
Stop. Everybody stop. Listen. Eric, if you're monitoring this, you need to get back in. Alias, there's no need to call anybody any names. Kevin has a right to his perspective, just like I do, and just like Broken has given his. But whatever he's saying, and you don't agree, Doesn't make him an automatic asshole. Okay? I'm not standing up for the guy. I'm just trying to say that let's not get into that area. This is a very touchy subject. I've been on the sides. I've been in. There's something I'll say that could change thinking, but I'm not expecting much. But I'm just saying. Please, Kevin, you've spoken. If Elios, go ahead and say your thing without cussing. You can cuss at the topic, but not at the person. We don't do that. And Erik should I don't know where he's at.
Erik, I think left to use the restroom for a bit.
That's a long restroom.
Well, I think
come with those nowadays.
We can discuss it calmly. That's all I was saying. I mean, things just
let him discuss it.
I mean, I was trying to help there too.
All right, Broken, let Elios talk, please.
No,
oh, yeah.
It's fine. I understand where you're coming from, Broken, and I do thank you, James, for catching me while I was in the middle of a hot flash, because I literally started seeing red right there for a few seconds.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. My problem with this whole notion, like with Antifa being basically parallel with fucking fascists, I think is very fucking duplicitous, because what people tend to forget about is the fact that fascism tends to be a revolution for if only Erik was in here. So the problem is that fascism, at least throughout history, it tends to empower those. It tends to exist to enrich the people in power. Obviously, the Democrats are using this as a means to gain voters and to say, "See, we're the good guys," while they're playing with fucking with fire that could potentially put thousands of people's lives in jeopardy, mine included. Because here's the thing: like, I'm both a socialist and a minority. I am the first one. I'd be among the very first that gets up against the fucking wall if these people even get anywhere close to the apparatus of power, and then they already have been. I do not want, and we have seen throughout history what happens when fascists, when white nationalists, when alt-righters or far-right individuals gain control of the locus of power of our society. And unfortunately, because hierarchical societies tend to always shift right when when societies are on the verge of collapsing due to economic or social strife, it tends to embolden these people. And when they do, it tends to end very poorly for people like me. And frankly, I do not want to have to do... I'd rather fight them now while they are still in the process of organizing, even as battered and weakened as the left is right now from the legacy of the Cold War, the drug war, and the crackdown of the labor unions due to neoliberal policy. Then give them an inch to have their way with the very land that I live in, because this is the only one I have any control over, any semblance of control over.
All right, I hear where you're coming from, but the one thing I want to say is you're framing this like a left-right thing, and that's just completely wrong. I mean, that's just my opinion there. I mean, you start off with division instead of just saying this group of people, not all of them, because obviously from the video they may have been there, but they did not take any actions against anyone. You can literally see that. It just, you're lumping people together. All right, the thing that you don't like is the thing you're doing.
Well, I think that when you have a long line of people marching with torches and screaming this, like, for my first argument is, it's once again, it's the cops versus any other protest. Any other protest would not allow people to walk around with cans of fuel and a fire and a way.
And I stated the cops were completely in the wrong.
And I think we'll both agree there. But this is the thing about it, and this is that if you stand with the side that it's espousing, this wasn't like an iffy one. This one was this particular event was definitely an event organized for and around the white supremacist movement. And
it was an event intentionally orchestrated to spark the anti-protester peoples to come to trigger this situation.
But here's the thing, there's two schools of thought here. There's a school of thought that says, oh, you just don't pay attention to these people, let them go. And I say, I am with Alice here, that you don't let these people openly organize and bring in new people. I mean, because what I was
so that can apply to anybody, then we can't openly organize and bring in people.
Hey, if they want to come and protest, hey, I have been to plenty of protests where there have been people that are heckling us or whatever. I've heard the get a job bullshit, everything else from these people. But, my argument is this, that what you're doing is allowing these people to, well, first off, let me just say this. This is my first off. Charlottesville is not something that just happened. Charlottesville, this started, like I said, there was a shooting on inauguration night in Seattle. Then you come down to Portland soon after that. There's another free speech event, and there's a free speech event with multiple speakers that are from the white supremacist wing of the alt-right and the alt-right themselves. And one of the people that ends up at that place also ends up killing 2 people on a train in Portland. And then you come to Charlottesville, and there's just no doubt about who these people were. It was Nazis, and everybody came pretty proud of who they were with their, the people that came with shields came with their shields with something to, mark who they were. And the dude that ran their car through people, he was there with those people, gladly being, side by side in his white polo shirt and his brown pants. I guess they went to white pants and brown pants, instead of brown shirts. But anyhow, that whole thing, there's 2 schools of thought. If you don't think they should be counter-protested, fine, but don't punch to the left is all I'm saying on that one.
I never said anything about them not counter-protesting.
Right. All I'm saying is
both of them came for a fight, and they were both armed coming there.
But are you saying? Here's my thing: that basically people that believe in gas chambers and everything else, you can equal them to the people that are fighting them morally. That's my fight. That's my argument here. Is there's a moral equivalence here, that people that want to throw people into gas chambers, people that think that other people are subhuman, there's something, and people that are willing to gather like that should be shown, they should get public.
I want to say one thing.
I'm saying there should be a public shunning, and I think arrests should be made to keep things peaceful, but they should always be shunned. And so counter-protest is up until now, counter-protesters have been getting all labeled as the Antifa movement, which wasn't true. And, it has been a multitude of groups have been facing these people down on the streets. So the idea that it was just Antifa is not true. Plenty of people are anti-fascist, and that's where these people are going politically. And so that's my thinking on this. It's not new. It's been here. I'm just saying it's accelerating, and it's out in the open.
Okay, Kevin, please go ahead.
Did you say something, James? You kind of cut in and out. I didn't catch what you said.
Make your point and what you're trying to state. I get what you're saying, but go ahead.
I'm done. I had something to say, but I lost my train of thought.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I mean, I got something. I feel like we're all
right. So, Ilya, did you want to add on to it?
Huh?
Oh, right. I can hear you. We can hear you, Stevie. Stevie, we're good. Sorry, Stevie. I was looking at Elias. That he was. Yes, we can totally hear you and see you. It's good.
Oh, I mean, we're basically turning on each other again, you know? I mean, not here. I mean, we're focusing on the people there at the rally when, why is there, you know, unite the right? You know, why was that even there? Why is there a large group of such ignorant people? Like, why is this happening? And, you know, the media wants to play it up like the Democrats are, you know, the morally superior ones, and they're trying to make it like Trump is this, you know, like he's the one that was driving the car, basically. I mean, it's so insane the way that they're portraying this, and it's them. They're the reason why there even is an alt-right, you know, freaking movement there, you know? I mean, why do you think that there's so many angry people? We're all at each other's throats wanting to kill each other when, you know, neither one of them are the enemy. It's the government. It's the media. It's these powerful people, you know? And here we are again, you know, in America, devouring each other when it's not even us. It's them.
That's why I said it reeks of government interference.
I think that's his point. Can you guys hear me now?
No, if you want to really, like, if people hate the alt-right or they hate, you know, neo-Nazis or whatever you want to call it, you know, maybe we should do something about the poverty. Maybe we should do something about, I don't know, our poor educational system. You know, that's why we have people that are racist, and that's why we have people, you know, violence is something you use when you don't have the words, or you can't use your words. And so, like, that's what I want to do. I want to focus on, let's get rid of the idea of neo-Nazis, you know, attack it at its source.
Yeah, fix the actual problems and the, fix the actual problems causing it, and then the whole racism thing becomes a lot less pronounced.
Yeah, it doesn't
it's
take
still going to be there.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. We've talked about a lot of violence domestically on a lot of social issues, and what happens is because there's not enough food, because there's not enough jobs, because there's not enough of this and not enough of that out there for a lot of people, they got all this time to spend creating alt left or crazy left and alt right and crazy right. But the thing is, there's one group between both of those groups in from my perspective, that came and was ready and prepared to cause harm. I don't think they were there.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but at the same time, I do believe that the police could have gotten.
They could have prevented it.
I think if they would have done that right, and it never. You know, it's always been that way. I mean, when the Million Man March, and I wasn't alive when it happened, but from what I've seen in the tapes, I mean, there was so much security. There was like the National Guard was out there. There was a ton of militaristic units out there protecting this march, because it was getting it was in several different ways. It was going to get really bad in certain areas, and there were people poised on the supremacist white, Erik, Nazi, whatever, Confederate people that were poised to do whatever they could as soon as they saw an opening. But they were kept from doing that. In this particular situation, I just felt that at a certain point you have to say, does free speech, here's an example. So let's just say you have a group of people that they want to, and this is really crazy, but at least you have a group of people that say, oh, we should kill, you should not be able to have kids like China you should only be able to have 2 kids, right? And then another group says, bullshit, I want to have 3 or 4 or 5. So then they line up together, and one starts protesting, the other one comes, and then there's an altercation. But the thing is one deeply wants and is passionate about something as much as somebody else. But then you have to say which one is the best one. What racism, all that stuff is bullshit. It's crap. It's wrong. It's just stupid. It's heinous, and it's terrible and wrong. So what I'm really saying is I think we all know that it's terrible, but at the same point, when do we stop the people that, let's just say they don't want to have 2, because now these people say you shouldn't have any more kids. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is do we let them continue to speak freely to totally destroy the rights of others? Here's the thing.
It's a slippery slope, James.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It is a freedom.
I think that free speech in the public square is fine. It's just like I say, I think that, putting a ring of cops around them and letting them have their little rally, and controlling where they are rather than where the rest of the crowd is. That usually works better anyhow.
Yeah, it's done right.
And then let them have their rally, but counter protest is going to be there, and that's the way it should be. I just think that there are a lot of people that much like Steve is saying, they're on the fringes, and they're this is my thinking about this. This is why I think that it's good that they're counter protesters, and that is because I lived around the kind of people that have just the level of ignorance and assuredness that their white race is the reason why they're better than other people, that are also unemployed and barely employable right now. I think that there should be, when they come into town to try to have speeches and to try to gather members and to try to get new people, recruit new people in, the idea that there's a crowd around them of basically a public, not a public veto, because they're still allowed to speak, but a public shunning, a public show of non-agreement, I think that's fine. And I agree that both sides have people that are violent. I just think that, I think that it's I guess my thing is, what is your ultimate goal in the violence? Even those people, I'm trying to figure out between those people, between who's violent and whose side is still. I feel like I shouldn't have to fight about the idea that the Klan and neo-Nazis are something that I should feel very comfortable about being against.
Yeah.
So, feeling any guilt about being against them and saying that maybe these people are violent and these people are violent, but the morally superior position is the people that are violent for more equality than the people that are fighting for less, I guess is the way I look at it. And so I mean,
and that's why that counter protest could have just let them do what they do, and they make themselves look ridiculous, and it defuses their power and momentum they have.
No,
yeah,
I think
to their level, I feel like it kind of gives some of the power of having
it gives
moral high ground
legitimization
away.
to them.
I think
now
watched.
you don't have that. Now you've gone to their level.
We have a new person.
This is better than that.
Oh,
Who's new?
But I get what
Marty?
you're saying, TBC.
Hello.
Hello there.
oh, hey, Marty.
Hey, well, I saw a police chief in Virginia, and he said they knew for a month that the group was having that rally there. And they had a deal. They were supposed to meet them, come through the back of the Emancipation Park so they can help them just go on in. They came in and went all over the place and spread it out. So that had to change how the police were, how they had to do, set up to handle the rally.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
I heard him saying that, and those are pretty poor excuses in my book.
Can we please take a pause and give an introduction to Marty?
Oh yeah, Marty. I'm sorry.
Listen, you guys. In regards to introductions, we don't want to say, "Hey, you're here. You've got to say who you are, where you're from, and this and this and that." Marty, when you want and when you're comfortable with coming in.
Well, at least give them the opportunity to.
Yeah, Kevin's right. If you want to come in and chime in whenever you want, just let us know and make your case and have a nice time. Enjoy yourself.
Anyhow, Shirley, I saw that police chief, and I would say this: that's bullshit. I've watched cops in every city. I watched them in a lot of different places. Countering protests, and the best tactic. I still think best tactics are bicycle cops with regular clothes on. That basically they can move with the crowd, and also they had 100,000 SWAT cops around there. SWAT teams riding around. Let's put it this way. Any place I've ever been, they've always got lots of trucks to hang off of with 1,000 of those guys hanging off the sides, acting like they're coming in to, assault somebody. And, besides that, you got all kinds of other things running around. They always got enough cops. So the idea that they didn't have enough cops on something they knew way in advance because they came in different directions.
And that's why I said they allowed it to happen.
All right, let's pause a bit. We could get back on topic. Did we give Marty a chance to say hello? Test his mic. Marty?
McFly!
Is that you, J.M. Clinton?
And we have a Back to the Future reference.
Well, we can't hear you yet, Marty. Sorry. Go ahead. Keep going, Broken Carpenter.
Hey, as far as whether they let it happen or not, I think, like I say, they always have a hands-off approach when it comes to these right-wing rallies. And they are right-wing. That's just as simple as that. It is a right-wing, left-wing thing. And so, because let's
at least to some extent.
Yeah, it's the hard right and the left, and some of it is the hard left. I
like to think of it as the group of the right that's freaking out and the group of the left that's freaking out.
Yeah, but like I say, the only one that really concerns me is the one that showed up with assault weapons, because no matter how you figure it, that's a danger waiting to happen. It's just like, even if nobody fired
but they
a weapon,
didn't shoot them, as far as we know.
All right, another hold. Who's 347?
Okay, I can hear you guys. I just had to pause the chat because it's I think it was kind of confusing me, and it was kind of pushing me back or something. How's everybody doing?
No, we're doing well.
Good.
Nice to have you in.
So do you want to introduce yourself? Is that you, James Clinton?
Yes, that's me. Yeah, people keep saying, they keep freaking out because my last name, they think my last name is is Clinton. It is actually McClinton. It's M.C. Clinton. So
I was wondering
no
why you would put Clinton in your name. That makes a lot more sense now.
The J stands for Jennifer, so that's the J. I enjoyed the chat that you guys were talking about earlier with the games and then which Charlottesville, something like that. I just I agree with most of what you guys were saying, but I just kind of feel like as a black person, I think it's okay to have the counter march because not everybody's going to agree with what was going on with the statue. That's the reason why I decided to have the march, because of the Robert Lee statue. But I just kind of feel like if I lived in that area, I wouldn't go to the march because I just feel like it's just going to make the problem worse. I mean, like for me, I just don't feel like I would change anything by going. I know other people wouldn't mind going, but I just kind of feel like I would just not go.
I think that's a fine strategy. I just, like I say, I think that it's just a matter of making sure, like, that basically, it's remembering that the people that were hit were socialists. They were, from the ISO, the PSA, well, and Heather was purported to be a wobbly, so I mean, these people were of the left, and like I've said, these people were of the left that is not of typically the violent portion of the left in these on these counter protests. These are the people that come in and are really non-violent. They make stands with union people, and like I say, they pulled a permit in Portland to do theirs. But so I think the victims here, many of them were of the left. They were us. That
was a tragic thing that anybody had to die to that.
And the thing is, this is whether I'm happy in a way that this is sort of made this at least an issue in the general press, and as they've decided that somewhere we've got to draw a line at how far right is acceptable, because I really do think like the president has given winks and nods to the very fringes of the right, and I more than a nod and a wink at times, and so I just find it good that we're seeing at least we're going to bring it back just a little bit, that line. I'd like to see that, and that would be, if anything it came out of this tragic occurrence, that would be the thing that would be a plus. You know what I mean? That it drags over to the one side of the window over just a little bit, because I think that it's been overlooked how much of sort of the right is of these people are kind of scary on the right. I would remind you also that today we had the guy that was a 3%er or purports to be a 3%er that was, going to blow up a building in Oklahoma City. I don't, there are people on the right that I think that there are some within these groups that are just fine, and they've got like sort of an ideological purity thing that, and they're nonviolent themselves, everything else. I think that there may be people like that, but I think that when you're a white supremacist, I think that it's okay to sort of, for everybody to say, yeah, I don't think that white supremacy is necessarily an acceptable sort of model for any of our political dialogue. You know, I mean, you can have those thoughts, you can sit around and bullshit about them, but the idea that anybody's going to take you serious, or we're not going to stand and, you know, yell at you and call you names, you know, that's just, that's the tough, you know. But anyhow, hey, Bram.
Yeah. How's everybody doing?
That's what my point was. My point was exactly what Broken was saying. Way to go, Broken. But anyway, so if you have a group of people that get so extreme, when do you say that's just a little too crazy? You know what I mean? So what I was saying before is you have a group that says they want to continue to have children freely, and then there's a group that say I only want to have, people should only have 2 kids, and then that same group that said 2 kids tell everybody they should have no kids. So when do you start to put a ceiling or a fence on that type of, you know, just so let's go to the supremacy side. So when do you say it's okay to lynch people? When do you say it's okay that we should get rid of all the minorities in the United States? When do you say, you know, I mean, you've got to put a cap on these fucking people. I don't care what you say.
That's why we have the Constitution. We allow them to say it. They can say whatever they want. You know, sticks and stones can break your bones, but words can never hurt you. That's how it is. And they carry these guns with them during their protests, but you don't ever see them use it. It's theater. They know the consequences of it. Just like the guy who drove into people, that guy's gone. He's he's going to be in prison for the rest of his life if he doesn't get killed. So they know the consequences of. Sorry, go ahead, Jam.
I was just saying that he's only 20 years old, and so I was surprised by the age when they showed his picture. I just thought he would be older. I thought the driver would be older.
Yeah.
The dude in Oklahoma City's young too.
Yeah, Shirley, did you want?
I still want more information on the actual perpetrator that ran the car into people, because I don't have much on him.
Shirley, were you going to say something?
Yeah,
Okay.
The guy that ran the car into the protesters, he had when they were in the high, they came from Kentucky. When they were in Kentucky, because his mom is wheelchair bound, she was scared of him. He would threaten her, he hit her, and she wanted him to be sent away.
Yeah, she called 911 on him for a couple of times, what I read.
Yeah.
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 Well, I think that there's a thing, you know, like I said, that kid, the guy from Oklahoma City was young too, and I think that there's there's sort of a psychological bent to a white male at sort of this age from like 16 onward, and it is true. I mean, there's you know, for whatever reason, when they're thrown into a situation like, you know, if they live in a city and there's no minorities there, okay, like I've lived in cities like that, they will still blame minorities for their problems. And, you know, there's like a whole generation of people that come up through that get that, you know, let's call it what it is. They're radicalized online. You know, I mean, the fact that we're still, you know, why didn't we call the shooter at the church in whatchamajiggy, the First Baptist?
You're talking about the cop that shot at the church?
No. I'm talking about the guy that went in.
Dylan Root.
Yeah. I mean, this dude writes a manifesto. Okay, these guys are not without thoughts in their head. They may not type them all. They may not be in cyberspace. They're, you know, maybe in the dark corners. Who knows? But anyhow, the thing about it is that you know, they're easily recruited. So trying to get to these people and at least making it look like, do I really want to be on the side of the people that are taking rights away? I mean, you have to sort of try to, so giving them an alternative to sort of what it is this nationalist populist stuff has to be countered, and it has to be countered, in my opinion, by a more socialist populist bent, wherever it may lie, but where that a democratic socialist that actually takes into account people rather than sort of trying to figure out excuses to marginalize some.
And when they locked up that Dylan Roof, they took them to have a burger.
Yeah, they did. That's true.
Yeah.
And if that was an African American, hell no.
No, they just would have threw him in jail. I mean, it wouldn't have been a burger. It wouldn't have been fries or anything.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Bram,
in jail.
hold on, Bram. Go
ahead. One thing we have to understand is that a democracy where everyone is allowed to participate, it's a double-edged sword. Okay, you're going to have people with differing opinions, and that does not give you the right to shut them down. However, the problem we're dealing with today is a little different. And the reason why is because we have a serious problem in this country with mental health. It's huge. And allowing people to just speak their mind and spew racist rhetoric, the problem with that in this kind of a democracy is that you're going to have people who are already mentally unstable and are already on edge, and they're going to feed into that. And it's just going to escalate and make things worse. So the first thing we have to do in a situation like this is we have to get a hold of our mental health capabilities, which have been decimated since Reagan was in office. I mean, the guy just ran roughshod over the whole damn thing and destroyed it. So we've got two problems. We've got a democracy that doesn't represent the people, which is a horrible situation. And then we also have the problem of rampant mental illness. So you put the two together, and what do you get? You get a powder keg. You get people who are already mentally unstable, already on edge, and who also do not feel that their views are being represented. So it's a complete mess.
The lead in the water isn't helping either.
Yeah, I agree there.
Yeah,
I think that if we were talking about a guy named Mohammed and one guy, the guy in Charlottesville, if his name was Mohammed, and he had nothing to do with the guy in Oklahoma City, and the guy in Oklahoma City, his name was Saeed. Do you think that we wouldn't be talking about this as a concerted terrorist attack on the United States?
That's exactly how they spin it.
So I think that overlooking this, we saw during the Clinton years when these people sort of, the more rage they have and the more, here's the thing, we live in a country where firearms are present everywhere. I understand that. But openly bringing firearms to a protest is like bringing a club to a protest. I mean, if you're walking around with a club and a shield, they in Portland, they took all that shit away from people. As they were walking in, they took away anything that looked like an offensive weapon, and they threw them all on the ground, collected them, and
And that's why I say the cops allowed this to happen.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't say allowed. I think there's a question of
they knew in advance, and even when the people were showing up there, they didn't disarm them.
Well,
this was supposed to be a peaceful protest.
But my question is this: why is it that they can, no matter what the left-wing protest, they can roll in every kind of, whether it's Black Lives Matter or Occupy or anything else.
Yes, the cops are applied incredibly unequally.
They can come rolling in with, all kinds of military equipment and fuzz all over the place. But when it's white supremacists having protests, that should be at least, have people around it.
Special treatment.
They get this easy treatment. And that was why when they were in Portland, this was my thing. They say they're for free speech. But when the police just indiscriminately started throwing flashbangs and firing into a crowd of people because there were a few people throwing rocks or something, that is a scary thought that they were cheering.
When you see the cops' reaction between other ones like that and this one, I mean, if anything, it should have been the same fucking thing. Throw flashbangs at those guys too, but special treatment.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if
that's why I'm really kind of getting the impression that they allowed this to happen.
And whether it was like just a matter of the cops weren't, I can't believe they didn't have anybody there that was more experienced with dealing with that kind of thing. But maybe they don't have, I mean, that's the thing about the Northwest. Is our cops are kind of used to policing.
That's the only organization we have that is heavily overfunded and has an excess of everything. To say they couldn't do their fucking job is a joke.
Well, I agree. But I just, it's whether they knew how to.
All right. Hold on, Jam Clinton, because the people who are on the phones don't have high volume. If they say something, I might butt in so they can have a say.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, JM.
Okay, I'll wait.
No, your turn.
Oh, yeah. In response to Broken Carpenter, I saw several people online that was in the was there in the area at the time it happened. They said that the cops let the people fight. Even when they were letting people fight, they didn't try to break up or anything. They just let it happen. I don't know if anybody has seen this, online on YouTube, but there's people that in the area, and they were white, and they said that they saw the cops do nothing. They just let it happen.
Well, I believe
there's literally video of the cops just standing there while other people beat the shit out of somebody.
Oh, no, I believe, I totally, and my only, and like I say, I guess my thing right now is whether these guys weren't overwhelmed with something they'd never dealt with. Surely seeing how the cops have really worked, they know how to work a crowd. Everywhere where there's been places where they've had protests a bit, they seem to know how to deal with it better. And maybe it's just experience, or whatever. But I think they had a more than hands-on off approach. Yes, I totally agree.
I just want to interrupt for one moment. I don't disagree. I kind of disagree with the concept that the cops didn't have. I mean, when you look at these other places, like just an example, Standing Rock, what happened there? They shipped in cops from 3 states over. You know what I mean? Look at the Occupy Wall Street. They shipped in cops from all over the fucking place. Look at any other of these things. They didn't. The fact that saying, they didn't have the experience, they could have brought in the experience easier. They knew the group was going to be large prior. They knew when it was going to happen a month early, and also they were present at the place when these people were coming with weapons and shields.
Kevin, I guess what I'm saying is I definitely agree with you that it's a possibility. I just don't know. At this point, I'm not quite sure if that's what happened, if it's a general.
There's also videos of the cops,
or if it's just. Yeah, I was just about to say, or if it's just generally the cops, no matter what race the cops are or whatever, are more than willing to give these guys a little bit more room than us. And I think that's part of the, that's part of the problem too, is whether they let it happen. I'm sorry, Shirley.
I think that was quite a lot. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Hey, I just wanted to say, with those protests, a lot of it is about economics.
So
agreed.
What was
to an extent?
A lot of it's about economics. A lot of them people really don't have jobs.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
So
yeah.
Get me in the loop because I'm always behind. The protests that originated, the one in Charlottesville, not the Antifa, but I guess white supremacists.
Apparently it was like Antifa and Black Lives Matter.
I know. Please let me go. What was their purpose? What was their original purpose? What were they protesting? Or
they were
protesting
because of the statue. Remember I don't know if you guys know, but the statue that
Robert
they wanted to take down. Yes, General Robert Lee.
Yes.
It's still up now, but the city decided to take it down, and that's when the KKK got pissed off, and then they decided to do the rally, and the alt-right joined them. That's what I've heard.
But hey, guys, did you hear about? Did you hear about what happened?
Hold on.
I mean, if you look at the like during the primaries, it was like 2015. They started doing this. I mean, these things have been up, for ages. But then all of a sudden, Democrats don't care about that. Like they don't care about. I mean, they already. In what was it? The leaks that said that don't give Black Lives Matter any concrete
policy.
That's right.
So they don't give a damn. But all of a sudden, now that it's a primary, they're gonna. What they do is they attack this, knowing that they're going to bring those people out that's going to protest against it, and then they know if they do that, then they're going to bring out the counter protesters. So then you set up the narrative and the fight of I mean. It's the easiest thing that they can do to spark a fight to divide people,
Well, I think that the thing about it is much like Jim was saying. It was sort of the people that were organizing it. Yeah, they not only invited, sort of let the alt-right join in, but they let all these other more edgy. They let in these neo-Nazis and these other Klan groups and white supremacist types. Let's not sugarcoat it. It's what it was. And so, there's this thing about it that all I'm saying is, I'm against violence at a protest. That's why I'm a little edgy about this having guns at protest. I just think like. Having guns at a protest is like having them at a bar. It's just not a good idea. You don't fight politics in a bar because that isn't a good idea. It's religion. So you don't mix guns in with things that have religion and politics involved, I think, is a good idea.
Broken Carpenter, I'd like to say one thing. MLK literally was armed during protests, a few of them. He was use your rights. That's what he said.
Well,
yeah, it's the Second Amendment is there to protect the First Amendment. So that's why they carry the guns. They don't use the guns to kill people because they don't like what the other side is saying. All right, sorry, go ahead.
We'll probably leave this topic in a second, but somebody brought up something that was really.
There's Uli. Uli, hi, Uli.
Hey, Uli.
Hey, Uli.
Uli.
And Martin, we still know you're there. Thank you for being there, and good to have Jim in. So there was something really cool. So when it comes to, if you're a corporation, if you're protesting anything that the two-party oligarchy is getting money from, like a corporation or some an oil company or fracking company, or if you're protesting big pharma or a bank, the cops are going to show up, and they're going to disperse you, and they're going to make it tough, and they're going to soak you down with water. But if it's you two, if it's party against party, people against people, some domestic dispute, LGBT, racism, whatever, they'll just let you fucking fight it out and see who can win points politically with it. It just seems that way. That's my perspective.
All right. Does Uli and Garden want to test their mic? And Uli, can you mute your YouTube?
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm stuck on the screen here. Trying.
Check, check.
You're good, Garden. Uli, you're good.
Garden.
What's up?
Oh, full crowd tonight.
Sorry, guys, I'm working a bit, so just listening in mostly.
Oh, that's okay.
So, did anyone hear about the rally today in Durham, North Carolina? Outside of the courthouse? I forgot what statue. Some statue from the Civil War, and they tied something around it and took it down. What's that noise?
I'm kind of wondering why they even allowed, stuff like that in the first place. I mean, if somebody tried to overthrow our government, why would we put statues up of them? It just doesn't seem to make sense. But
I think that statue's pretty old.
That's a good
point.
They
just need to put them in a museum.
Yeah. I mean, stick them in a museum, and then if you really want to stick the white supremacists, give part of the admission to go into the museum to some sort of reparation thing.
I mean, that's the other thing is
just an idea.
You've got people that are doing stuff for all kinds of different reasons, and maybe some people might want to bring it down because we don't. That's not something that should be celebrated. And then there's some people that want to bring it down because they want to erase the racism, like erase the racist history that we have. Like they just want to forget about it altogether. I mean, look at our history books. So I'm just very worried, but we should have it like in a museum or something to where it doesn't get forgotten. That I mean, look what Germany does. As in regards to they don't forget it. They make a point to remember their history so they don't repeat it.
Yeah, I don't remember who said it, but it goes vaguely along the lines of when the last man dies that remembers the last horrible war, that's when we'll have our next.
I just don't understand when they say, honestly, white people becoming the minority of the country, and they scared. I don't know what they scared for.
Minority? I mean, it's literally 68% of the country. I mean, just by the numbers,
we have a lot of mixed races now. There's not really full African Americans anymore.
I see your point, Shirley. It's, what's the difference? Like, okay, white people aren't the majority anymore. Like,
maybe it's about being pure. Like, they want their race to be pure. Like, they want to preserve that pureness.
But what is their race? I mean, they're just.
A race is just inbreeding.
I mean, they're what, European American? Is that the race that we're talking about, or Scandinavian American?
It just kind of seems like white people like the races, not all of them, but I'm just saying like the white people that that I hear from that I when they talk about race, and it sounds like they're really terrified, like their race is just going to just disappear or something. Like it's just going to go away because we got all these brown people and black people here, and they just seem like they're so terrified.
You see, that's
that's their whole plan, is to make white people afraid and to stoke this fear. Is that's my point? Is they gather people that are on the edges of economically, and they say, here we got somebody for you to blame, and if you were already sort of in that group of people that said instantly, oh yeah, that's right, and so they brought out this rap about European heritage. European heritage just means I hate black people, I hate everybody but white people, And European white people, please, not even Eastern European, because you're getting iffy if you go there. You know, I mean, it's a whole master race thing that makes no freaking sense to me. And I'm not afraid if before I die, people of color outnumber white people, because I don't think that they're suddenly going to start sending us to camps for gas and for, you know, reparations. You know, that's their job, and it pisses me off.
All right, Bram, go ahead. Bram,
okay.
Sorry.
Let me put this into perspective. I myself used to be I used to be a racist. I used to be somebody who believed that race was an identity that needed to be protected, that race was an inherent part of who I was, and that defending that at all costs meant everything. It's bullshit. It's complete and utter bullshit. To put it into perspective, all anybody has to do, watch Carl Sagan's 3-minute speech on the pale blue dot. It puts everything into very clear perspective. We're a speck floating out in space. Who in their right fucking mind is going to be worried about what color their skin is? I mean, holy shit, how stupid would you have to be?
Yeah. Exactly, dude. Like, it's ridiculous.
Oh, really?
In some cases, racial protectionism makes sense. Okay, like if you're a Hawaiian, like what, James, you said there's like 5,000 native Hawaiians left or something. I mean, in those kinds of cases, it makes sense because, you know, your race is disappearing. There's no chance of the white race disappearing. You know, it's absurd. For that matter, there's no chance of the black race disappearing, which some people are also afraid of, or them getting absorbed in other races. It's absurd.
I mean, doesn't it kind of
it's race baiting?
Basically, natural selection, kind of. It's just whatever is would be like the most desirable, or what, you know, if it's your culture, if it's your race, whatever it is. I mean, it wouldn't like the best kind of thing went out, and in the end, we're all going to be, you know, coffee-colored, beautiful people. You know.
I think people conflate race with tradition and culture.
We'll just kind of go towards, you know, something better. I mean, if something, I don't know.
I just see it as like there's some parts of the human genome that are kind of fading out, and it's okay to protect those. If like someone from a race that has very limited numbers chooses to marry a person of that same race, protect their race or their culture, however they want to put it, I don't really have a problem with that. When it comes to the races, when there's millions and millions and millions of us, that it just doesn't make any sense.
And that's why this whole, somebody mute their thing.
Yeah, somebody's got something going in the background.
I think it's still might be Uli.
Anyhow, that's why this idea of European heritage is something that's just asinine, because they have St. Patrick's Day. I know plenty of people that are proud they're Irish. They come out every St. Patrick's Day. That's cool. You know, I don't think holding on to pieces of your heritage is bad. I just don't think that holding on to your heritage and saying that it's the only heritage that's good, and even if it's for religious reasons, I still don't think it's good. You know, I mean, I don't think it's good that the Amish don't do that. You know, or the Amish only live amongst themselves. I just think it's. I don't know.
What is European heritage, anyways? Like, the cultures within Europe are so diverse. Like, Scandinavian is nowhere near culturally similar to an Italian.
I just kind of want to bring up one thing real quick here. Let's not downsize the whole black people thing, because they have been assaulted pretty fucking badly. Okay, I want to make that clear. Okay, because you know, right earlier, kind of, I know we weren't, but someone might interpret it that way.
Oh, exactly. I guess that's my point.
I mean, we have it bad, but they've had it worse for longer.
Yeah, I mean,
we're crude, but the thing is, it's like we're pinning each other. If we all start fighting each other, we're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, that's like one of those things that I just don't think. I think that's totally. Yeah, you're right. Nobody should misinterpret us as saying that. I'm just saying. And I don't think that people are black. They just want equal. That is basically what.
Yeah, fairness and justice for all.
So, I mean, I think that would be an improvement. But yeah, I forget.
We could start by paying everybody an equal wage. How about that? I don't make as much as a white man does. Should I pitch a bitch and freak out? Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, we can start with that, and we can start by giving health care to everybody. That'll even the score in a lot of freaking ways.
I think that's the problem with all this craziness going on along with mental illness.
Yep, absolutely. And it's also the fact that people are so, nuclear and isolated, and nobody's paying attention to what's happening with these kids and what they're looking at and what they're thinking about. When I was a kid, there's no freaking way. Nothing got by my parents. Oh my God. They were all over me. If there was anything, they're like, where have you been? Who you been with? Why do you smell like that? It's like, they knew everything, it's like, these days, I feel like the parents just have the kid and then put them in the basement and let them get on the internet. And just, they end up in places they shouldn't be, and they get angry and they're sitting around. And, a lot of these guys that were at this thing, they weren't even from the South. They're trying to turn it into the Confederacy thing. I'm like, these kids were from freaking Nevada and Utah and Wyoming and all these places. They weren't even Southern. It's like,
I used to have to get home before the street light came on.
They're just these angry little guys sitting around trying to be a badass on the internet and getting angry because, I don't know, they're white and unhappy and down in their basement and they're poor or whatever, and they think that somebody of a different color or religion has taken their job. And it's just not true. It's just not true. And so when I look at stuff like that, what I see is poor people fighting poor people. Boom, 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 boom. And while they're down there brawling around, the corporate elites are like, yeah, the poor people are fighting each other. Well, they won't notice while we stick our hands in their back pocket and just take a little more. They won't notice. Let them keep fighting. It's cool. It's cool. Yeah, that's what I see. Poor people fighting poor people.
What the powers that be want most. Go ahead, fight each other. Don't look at me.
That's what it is.
What I find funny is that the pictures have them carrying tiki torches.
I thought that was funny too.
Damn citronella Nazis.
Damn Polynesian white supremacists.
We're Nazis, but we don't like mosquitoes.
The tiki was invented in Scandinavia, dude.
Whoa.
Hey, if they were really racist, then they would be mad about those tiki torches because a bunch of Chinese made them.
Exactly. They probably got a 2-for-1 special at Pier 1, They probably picked up some nice little cut mosaic candle holders while they were there.
They probably
don't seem to care about Made in America.
And they used those tiki torches because they couldn't carry around a big cross on fire.
Wow.
I almost kind of want to see that just for the audacity and stupidity of it, because one of these motherfuckers is going to light themselves on fire.
Yeah. Oh.
What was the?
That would suck.
Who's the Scandinavian Viking that they say discovered America? I can't remember now.
Oh, yeah.
I could just imagine those people saying, oh, no. See, the tiki lamp was first invented in Norway.
The white man made the tiki torch. What are you talking about?
Thor Heyerdahl or whoever the hell it was, traveled the 7 seas. And he traveled to one place, and suddenly all these villagers found out about light. Yeah, it wasn't until then.
Kind of guys that that video you shared of the guy lighting the firecracker and his ass crack. Those are these kind of people. That's what they hang out and do all day, and then they get bored and they go, "Oh, I'm angry."
Hey, just real quick, did you watch Twilight Zone?
Oh no, I haven't yet.
That's a definite. You got to watch it. It's like on Netflix. You can watch it too. It's what's it? Dennis Hopper at his best.
Yeah. Oh wow. That'd be worth watching.
So my nephew did Ancestry, and I'm 22%. Well, he's 22% Polynesian, which means that I'm 44% Polynesian. So that means that the Office of Hawaiian Affairs is wrong, because they were saying I'm 38.5. So DNA doesn't lie, but what's really interesting is he's 73% Scandinavian.
Wait. Who's 73% Scandinavian?
My nephew.
See, I told you.
So,
yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Genetics do matter. We are, genetically different. But that's kind of like,
We're also genetically also very much the same.
Yeah, we got like 1.1% difference variation between us or something like that.
Yeah.
And like you said, we're like a cigarette ash, man. At some point we're gonna burn out and go away, and then nothing's gonna happen. I mean,
yeah, we've only been here about what, 200,000 years, something like that, just mankind in general.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty bold of us to think that after we watch all these other species die off, that somehow that we're just able to get past it, because it'll happen. And if nothing else, like the sun burns up at some point, right? I mean, eventually it burns up.
Somewhere around another 4 or 5 billion years.
Hey, I mean, there's actually, like, if you look at the bottom of the Earth in Antarctica, they don't ever tell you, but there's an expiration date at the South Pole. You just have to look. It got stamped, man. It was stamped. God himself put it there. It's big letters. It's right aside.
It's also got a renewal date too, because Antarctica's slowly moving.
Yeah, well, it's
now.
No, it's been moving. I mean, everything's moving to some degree.
It's magic. It stays in one spot.
I'm referring more to the melt than the, it's moving for that reason.
Well, he just said God put a stamp on it. I'm like, he also put a renewal date on it, because eventually that place, maybe no humans are left on the planet, but eventually that's going to get to a spot where it starts to warm up again.
So
I think
like hundreds of thousands of years to millions to billions,
we blow off into dust and we become something else, but we're all separate then. How about that?
So one thing I wanted to ask, because that's why I want to get the context of what the original protest was for, was the taking down of Robert E. Lee's statue. And someone mentioned how he was like an enemy of America or whatever.
He fought for America many times. That's the thing people don't realize. He was a U.S. Army guy and fought in Mexico and all of that. Indian Wars and the whole damn thing.
And he peacefully retired after he surrendered. And people mistake... there's so many stories about Robert E. I actually admire the guy.
I was born on the same day as him, and I'm actually, on my dad's side of the family, we're related to him. We have Confederate soldiers on my dad's side of the family that are actually like registered, documented. My dad has been in the Confederate Veterans Group like his whole life. So I've been exposed to a lot of that kind of stuff down here. And it's really weird. And I'll tell you, there are things that I absolutely don't agree with and things that I see two sides of the coin, right? To say that the South was all wrong and the North was all right, or vice versa, is really egregious, because the North had slaves too.
Yeah.
Lincoln on record said that he would preserve the Union whether or not it meant getting rid of slavery. He was
Had
not
nothing to do with slavery.
He was not an abolitionist. There were plenty of people, like his contemporaries, like Lysander Spooner, who absolutely was a true abolitionist, and he didn't like Lincoln at all because he saw him as just a politician that was using it as a thing to bat around for his political position. And of course, not everybody in the South was pro-slavery. None of our family had slaves. We were poor people. We were sharecroppers and things like that. We never owned land and slaves. So, you know, this whole idea that everybody was prancing around in hoop skirts is ridiculous, because we didn't come from that. Personally, me. And we have got a lot of monuments, a lot of plaques and history markers. It's all over the state. Anywhere you go in Georgia, there's one actually in walking distance just around the block, you know, where different parts of the Civil War happened or different things went down. And, you know, I mean, I live close to another place called Peachtree Battle, which is just anybody that's spiritually sensitive, that place is like, it's like when I walk around there, it feels like a light switch just went on, because it was a major area of bloodshed. It was literally all over the place. And I remember when they took the Confederate flag off of the state flag in Georgia, because, you know, my whole life it was on there. It was the seal and then partly the Confederate flag. It really bugs me, and you know, a lot of people might take it wrong, but the way that the Confederate flag is reviled and turned into, like, they equate it with a Nazi flag, guys, wow, the Confederates were not Nazis any more than the Union soldiers were Nazis. These were two people fighting with each other over the fact that a group of the country didn't want to be part of the Union anymore. It was a lot to do with agriculture, with money, with economics, control of the economy. There was a lot of stuff. I mean, I could get my dad down here one day, and he's probably read more books than you can shake a stick at about all this history. Yeah. I've been to, and the people that think that all these Confederate groups are just these hateful people, I've personally been to meetings of the Confederate veterans in the past. And you want to talk about the most boring bunch of old people sitting around eating a casserole, talking about what kind of spoons they used or who was trading forks. They literally will talk about guys that were like, these guys that would come and sell things to the soldiers during the war, and whether or not they were kind of like shysters because they'd jack up the price of like crackers or cookies. And I mean, it's right. You know, I know that there are these groups out there, but it's just, to me, it's so unfair to try to combine Nazism with the Confederacy. It's just, you know. And the thing is, you know, you get these statues and they're all over the place. Are you going to tear every one of them down? Are you going to, where does it stop? Where does that stop?
I have a statue we can, or a monument sort of thing we can all agree on to tear down. The Georgia Guidestone.
Oh yeah, that thing is ridiculous.
What the fuck is that?
Oh yeah,
there's fucking literally blood on top of the damn thing.
Are there people like Stonehenge sacrificing there?
Well, I got breaking news.
I don't know.
Well, before you go on, Shirley, I wanted to discuss something, but it was good history. Like Che Guevara in New York, there's a statue of him, and he was probably a lot worse for any Americans to actually have a statue of him up. You know, we've got a lot worse people that we have statues up for. But also, the city, was it the city that ordered to take down the Robert E. Lee statue? Or was it a county thing or a state?
There's so much of that going on right now that I honestly do not know. There's so much fuss about all these statues and things. I could ask my dad. He would know about it because him and his buddies, they talk about this stuff. But, you know, for me, it's, again, this kind of stuff is not that big of a deal to me. I'm not some like, woo, South rise again, you know, I'm not. To me, it's one of those things that it's part of the past, it's part of history. I think that we should learn the lessons of it and go forward and do right. The Germans didn't destroy Auschwitz. They kept it and they said, look at what happened. it's a memorial, and now, you know, a museum and all these things. So you can take a good, hard, long look at that and go, wow, that was screwed up, and we do not want to go back there again. If people realize, you know, these things happen. I mean, they got the damn Custer Memorial. Indigenous people have been putting up with that mess for years and years. You got to learn from the past. And if a statue is what's going to destroy your life, wow, I'm sorry. That's, for me, it's not. And maybe if I was African American, I would feel differently. I don't know. I mean, I have friends, many friends in the South, obviously, that are black, and they just don't think it's as big of a deal as the media portrays it to be. They're like, why is this a big deal? What we need is healthcare. What we need is help with poverty and people being mentally sick and on drugs. And, you know, this kind of stuff doesn't really matter that much. It's not that big of a deal, and it's being blown up into this mushroom cloud. And that's what bugs me, you know, is that you know, you've got these hateful little shits, and the more energy you give them, the bigger their little heads get. And you know what happens when they start tearing down those damn statues and all that stuff? The martyr complex goes woo, 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 and they go, look, see, they're oppressing us and they're knocking it down. There's so much to this. There's so much to this, and there's so much nuance to it. That people aren't seeing the hypocrisy of all of it. They're blaming Trump for this. Why didn't they blame Obama for Ferguson or things like that?
Yeah.
Why aren't they? I mean, it's like, if you can blame a president, it's like, how about we hold these people accountable for their own actions? And people have been asking, well, why weren't there more cops there? Why weren't there tanks there? Guess what? At Dapple, at Standing Rock, guess why there were all those tanks there? Guess why? There's fucking oil under that ground. There's a corporate
pipeline
interest there. There's no oil running under that Lee statue. Think about that one.
Well, here's something. I needed to look it up to get it straight, but the South Carolina Confederate flag or whatever, the you know, some of these things, it hadn't, nobody had been using that symbol until 1962.
Right.
And its usage was by the white, or the right, you know, the KKK type, you know, those types in the South, whomever they might be, to sort of self-identify. And so that's why it became more of a symbol that's reviled than a symbol that's thought of in any historic purpose, or why it was actually, you know, where it actually came from and everything else. And because there's people that's still alive that remember when it first came out, I think that's one of the reasons why, if that's still an issue, and I think that it would be.
Yeah, and I don't think that the Confederate flag has a place in a federal building. I mean, the facts are the facts. The South lost, and that's that. You know, I mean, that's kind of the deal. And not only that, the Confederate flag was one of the very, very, very few actually used in the Civil War itself. There were hundreds and hundreds of different kinds of flags with all different sorts of, you know, designs and patterns on both the Union side and the Southern side. So it's yeah, but I agree. Like you said, it's kind of morphed, and that's the sad thing about Civil War.
And also,
it was not a German symbol at all. You go into any Buddhist temple and you'll see a swastika in the artwork. That wasn't even a German thing.
Yeah, that was appropriated.
Yeah.
The German culturally appropriated someone else and then called themselves the master race.
Yeah, there's a Tibetan Buddhist group right near me, and it's like, you see all the artwork and it's beautiful and fancy, and there's a little swastika stuck in there, and it's like, oh yeah, that wasn't German.
Yeah, the funny part is that they actually stole that from Indian Buddhists.
Yeah, it's been around for thousands of years for good.
Like, good fucking job.
Gandhi actually did try to send a letter to Hitler once, you know, telling him his you know, where he was going with his life. I was like, damn.
Like, what the fuck are you doing, man?
He's like, dude, have you questioned your life? Have you looked in the mirror lately?
Speaking of Germans and the way that they relate to their history and stuff, you know, they've banned the use of the display of the swastika. And they have a different view of what free speech is.
They've gotten crazy. They've gotten a little carried away and a little crazy. Too crazy.
Oh, all right. So Uli's got something interesting. Uli, try saying something. She says the Germans don't keep Nazi statues around, though. So what are your thoughts about that?
Well, yeah, I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Uli.
There's a summing noise coming from my mic, and I don't know why. It's totally quiet around here. But anyway, yeah, the comparison with Germany, with what's going on right now, and saying that, we kept Auschwitz. Auschwitz is a memorial. It's actually honoring the victims of the Holocaust.
Exactly.
However, we don't keep statues of Hitler and his gang around. So that, I mean, if you want to compare the Holocaust to what is and has been going on with people of color in the United States, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think anybody was comparing that. I think we were just kind of the Buddhist. The Nazi symbol was the Buddhist.
Nazi regime lasted 12 years. The Nazi regime lasted 12 years. The Holocaust within that regime lasted approximately 6 to 7 years. The oppression of melanated people in this country has lasted and is ongoing for centuries.
Yeah.
So it's not a good comparison.
No, it's very, very different.
It's still going on.
Yeah.
The Nazi regime ended in 1945.
Yep.
Growing up, I was never aware how recent the civil rights movement, how recent that history is.
Yes.
And the oppression is ongoing. The systematic racism in this country has never ended.
Yeah.
And this thing like with Charlottesville, a lot of these media events, they're a distraction. They are a distraction. Here we are bickering amongst ourselves. Well, they have a right to speak. Well, we have a right to speak against, and back and forth. That's not the issue. The issue is systematic racism.
Mm-hmm.
We all have little disagreements, but I think we've reached a point where we all need to set our priorities straight. We all have one common adversary.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And so for that moment in time, we have to say, okay, for that particular battle, we have to reprioritize. We all have our grievances. Let's make them secondary.
Yeah.
Let's look at the root of this problem. And the reason we're bickering amongst us in groups, and journalists are bickering against each other, and so didn't speak out against this, and how come such and such makes no mention of that. And the fact of the matter is that there is too much going on. We're focusing on candlelights here and there when there are fires burning on every end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree that's, to me, this kind of thing, it's where it really, I think, kind of goes totally over the line is when people start getting killed over it. That, when you've actually got these crazy people running people over in the streets and killing them, that takes it to a whole new level. That takes it from just crazy people arguing this in the street to actual, deathly violence.
Just say the word, he was a white terrorist.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, how is that any different? That's terrorism, pure and simple.
Like I say, I just think that it should be this one and the one in Oklahoma City today. They both should be looked at as the same thing. And I heard somebody. It was Jeffrey Tubin.
Yeah.
He was sort of downplaying it by counting how many victims were in, how many victims from Islamic attacks versus white or sort of, I don't know what they would call it, what their subgroup
I
is.
think they call it a hate crime.
Yeah, or there's like, but it's like right-wing terrorism or whatever they call it. Anyhow, he made those numbers because somehow those numbers, he was saying that, well, there was 62 here and 32 here, see? But if you look at the number of attacks by the right wing versus Islamic groups, there's many more attacks by the right wing. And so in that way, it should be and they got torn down when they tried to actually say that. When the Homeland Security tried to say that, they allowed that to be jumped down. But I think
that's a whole other scary conversation.
About the South and these different things is it should be very closely sort of looked at, I guess, and the idea of whether it's a statute glorifying somebody or whether it's a statute like for the fallen, because like the thing they pulled down today was supposedly like for the fallen soldiers, and so I don't know. I think that's like one that maybe they should move the whole monument into a museum because
actually that one that you're talking about, Carpenter. It's a very generalized like Confederate soldier memorial statue, and there's actually basically a copy of it in a lot of different places in different. They call it Joe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's if it's like for but I mean, if we're talking about things that are glorifying, people that were in the Confederacy and were glorifying, especially things like say that been put up since 1950. I mean, anything that's been up since 1950 is not a necessarily, or we could say since the Civil War. There's got to be some cutoff point where we say, no, wait a second, this culture really isn't cool anymore. We got to figure out a way, I think, to save this, because it's like you should save things from different periods. I just don't think you need to prominently display some of these things.
All right,
and that's my opinion.
Yeah.
So before we could segue back, but Shirley, she said she had breaking news, so go ahead, and I'm gonna give the con back to Eric.
Trump has pulled back Obama's push to fight against white supremacy.
What is that? Say that again.
What? What's
Trump has pulled back Obama's old policy of going after white supremacy.
Really?
I have a few questions to ask. What source are you referencing that from? What were Obama's policies towards the white supremacists or the KKK in the first place? I've just they didn't seem to be effective in the least.
What did he do?
I know he had them. I know Obama had them down as like a terrorist group or something like that. But he's overturning that now.
Okay. I don't know how that helped us.
That could be Jeff Sessions, and what they could be doing is how they're prioritizing the FBI or whoever resources, and they're saying they're no longer going to spend money going after this sort of thing. I think that was what it was, but I'm not sure.
Hey guys, I hate to get off a topic, but did you hear about this case? It was a black female in Houston. She was driving and she supposedly ran a stop sign, and cops had stopped her, and they ran a check on her. They strip searched her out on the street.
Oh my God.
Laid her down in her car, had like she was at the GYN, cock her legs open like they're looking for marijuana.
Yeah, those cops should be charged for molestation.
Yes.
I've also heard of the harassment where they'll stop a carload of women, strip search them out in the public, and cavity search them, but they only use the same glove. They don't change it or turn it around.
my God.
That's fucking nasty.
Well,
And they check their mouths too.
The reason my mom's always been afraid of cops. I tell you, ever since I was a kid, she'd always be really nervous if she saw one around or if it was following in a car. She just was like, you just never know what they're going to do. You never know what's going to happen.
Yep, cops are monsters.
It's, yeah, not all of them. Not all of them, but there are.
Yeah, not all of them. There's some
Just like
good
all
ones, but they tend to leave.
Yeah, just.
And they're not really all that great when they don't turn in the ones doing this horrible shit. So I return to the first statement. All cops are monsters.
Well, either race, but more whites have been killed by cops than blacks. But what makes more newsworthy?
Well,
when they kill black people.
Yeah.
Because I saw
they're trying to race bait it.
Yeah, I saw a young white girl being shot through a windshield by a cop. I'm like, oh my God, he didn't get charged. She was shot and killed.
Yeah.
Okay, just kind of a clarification, just on the what Cheryl said there. Okay, more white people do get killed, by the percentage of our population. But when you consider the percentage of population of black people, 44 million, 13% roughly in that area, the rate at which they get killed is indeed higher.
Right,
This is a statistically measurable thing.
The
But
thing is,
it's not shown on mainstream media.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, Kevin, making blanket statements like all the cops are monsters, that's
Well, when they don't turn in I can't. What good cops when they won't turn in the bad ones? What good cops are there? They never won't do anything. Their whole purpose is to protect and serve, and that's what they're neglecting their duty.
I hear you there. That's a valid point. Yeah, that's a valid point.
There are good cops, though.
There's just no perfect people. And you're going to find corruption in places where there shouldn't be corruption, just like in the church or in the police or in wherever. It's unfortunate, but that's people. I
believe some of them are taking steroids.
Sure.
Almost all of them are, or at least a good chunk of them.
And you got a lot of them running around with PTSD and things like that, and they really shouldn't be, in that kind of position at all. They shouldn't have the ability to use deadly force when you've got that kind of, mental trouble going on.
I like that. There's a lot of mental trouble in this country.
Yeah.
That's a good one. There's a ton of mental trouble.
Hey, I got it.
It's just fucking everywhere, man. Hey, there's some mental trouble. There's some mental trouble over there.
People
there's some mental trouble.
People ask me, why do you laugh so much, Ariel? I said, beats the alternative. If I don't laugh, I'm going to start crying. You gotta see the absurdity in some of this shit because it's nuts. Triggered!
We just have to do it.
I wish that all these people mad about statues and flags would get mad about health care and water and cleanliness. The earth is burning up, and we're not even going to have a planet to fight on before you know it.
Yeah, can we fix the problems and then fight each other later?
Yeah,
if it really needs to come to that, I imagine if we fix our problems, the fighting each other probably wouldn't even come to mind anymore.
No,
I guarantee it.
It's just the fighting each other is just all fucking stupid, useless fucking distractions. That's how I really see it.
Unless somebody's literally trying to kill you or attack you or something, then okay, yeah.
That's understandable.
That's kind of a one-on.
Bickering about these distraction issues.
You have the right to defend yourself.
Oh, of course.
I don't want to just fight about health care. I want to fight about dental care, too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Medicare for all is kind of the whole shebang.
I got pretty good teeth, but I haven't been to a dentist in about 3 years, and I really need to go, and I'm dreading the bill, man. Telling you what.
I know mine need fixing badly.
Your teeth are a major part of your overall physical health. Do you know that if you floss your teeth every day, for all y'all, if you don't floss your teeth every day, that will actually add several years to your life. Just flossing your teeth, because the soft tissues in the mouth, anything that's rotting or anything like that that gets into your bloodstream is very, very bad for you. So keep good care of your teeth. I always take good care of my teeth, because not only do I not want to have to deal with the dental bill, it's also very good for your overall well-being.
But the flossing can have the exact opposite effect if you're not careful, because you can damage your gut, cut yourself, or
you have to
create an opening for that.
Get the dentist to show you how to do it right. I've had several good ones show me how to the proper amount of pressure. You don't want to go cutting up into the gum. Some people get a little bit nuts with that. Woo! It's like the dentist from Little Shop of Horrors.
Okay, so I sent you guys the link just so you can, when you're driving through the United States of America, you can detour yourself around. I'm going to show you in a second. It's funny. This is what's sad. It's a map. It's a map of all the hate people that live in this country.
Ah!
I mean,
hate people?
Yeah, just the haters, like the haters times 10. They're just
wow. Okay.
So you can actually see a map, pick a group. So if you're in the area,
what do the colors represent?
It's just, if you go to the map, it'll show you who represents what and everything. But it's pretty freaking.
I don't remember the last time I took a road trip like running into like a gang of hate people in the middle of the highway. Then I'll run them over, like move them out of the way. Hey, you haters!
What was that movie? Rat Race? Anybody remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What movie?
Rat Race with Jr., where they ran into the what was it? It was like a Nazi doll museum.
Yeah.
Oh, they got Hitler's car. That's right. They got
Hitler's car.
I forgot about that one. Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's so damn funny.
No, that's kind of strange. I mean, it's like, I guess it's interesting that they've been able to pinpoint like areas where these crazies are, but
weird.
Just driving down the street, I mean, they're in their house or an outhouse or the gymnasium or somewhere. They're not like in the road.
The Southern Poverty Law Center does it, and they put out a map. I don't know if that's the one that he put up or not, but
apparently I got Klansmen in my area.
Oh yeah, there's groups everywhere, man. I mean, you know, that's the thing about it. But they're within.
Yeah,
when
but the thing is,
it's when they all get together. What's that?
One thing I want to mention about my area is that people from Detroit, Flint, all those areas, large black population, all right, and all the shit that's been happening down there to them, they've been migrating up here. So, and I didn't know I knew some people. I didn't know we had a straight up clans meeting here somewhere.
Hey Kevin, at least you don't have to worry about mosquitoes.
Those lunatics are everywhere. You know, though, it's like that kind of thing was always like the KKK when I was growing up was always kind of like an embarrassment. You know, like they're like this sort of embarrassment. Like they're the stuff of Jerry Springer. It's like, look at these morons running around with these outfits. It's like calling themselves wizards or something. It's like, what? It's like, oh man, it's kind of silly. It's really kind of.
I mean,
let's dress in bed sheets.
Let's dress up as ghosts with fucking pointy hats. It's fucking
and the thing is,
so retarded.
Humor is powerful. I'm telling you, the biggest thing you do is laugh at them and ignore it. Just you don't see it to a degree.
Oh, exactly.
I mean, it's it's just like. Get a life. What are you doing? Really? Is this your life has come to that you're at home like mom is stitching up your hood? I mean, it's like,
well, I mean, I guess.
Oh, I got some dirt on my hood. Could you throw it in there with some Tide? I mean, that's your life.
That would have been a better way to protest them.
On my sheet.
It's whiter. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Everybody lines up on the streets. They come walking through, and everybody just points and just starts fucking laughing.
Yeah, seriously. They would die of humiliation if you just start laughing at them. If you get angry and you're, that's like, they're like, see, we're martyrs.
That's just what they want.
But if you start laughing at their shit, they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do.
I'd be like, holy shit, look at scary ghosts, let's run! Ah!
You have no power here.
I think one of the funniest videos, mock-ups that I saw was like somebody had taken a video of these KK guys marching around, and they had like laid over like some really funny like tuba music behind. It was like, and somebody posted, they said, should I revive my tuba playing just so I can go to these things and play silly tuba music so it makes the whole thing just look really ridiculous? It's like, you should totally do it.
Do a soundtrack to them marching.
If the chicken dance is being played, nobody can take us seriously.
Yeah. Okay, so I think Benny Hill would be the best music for them.
Absolutely.
Running around like chickens with their heads cut off.
Like South Park, there's this one episode they made fun of like the episode, like they're like, do we dress up as ghosts? They're like, big no. They dress up as ghosts and they just scare away the rich people.
Hey, if that scared away rich people, I might don a bed sheet.
Yeah, exactly.
But the rich people were they were making fun of rich people as black people, but they were trying to make fun of like what was it?
I think they were pretending like they were scared of ghosts, or that's what they thought. Or I think it was something retarded like that. I vaguely remember watching that episode.
It was There Goes the Neighborhood episode. Like, they were just, referring to as like rich people, but like at the very end, it's like Mr. Garrison, said something, totally inappropriate.
He always says the worst things.
Oh God, I know.
It's like, what? They built a wall? They can't build a fucking wall. the border wall on Canada.
That Benny Hill tune is called Yakety Sax.
That sounds about right.
It should be played next to, like, that should be the music being piped out of the Goldman Sachs onto the street. Every time you pass by, that's what you hear.
I had to double check it, but it was in my parents' collection, so yeah, I knew what it was called.
Oh man, it's so weird growing up in the South because it's just a different perspective on all of it, and in some ways, you can almost say that if you have a good balanced perspective of things, you have, I don't know, it's because you don't live in a place where you don't have to face things like racism or, these kind of situations or old monuments and stuff, because it's right there and it's all the time. And so in some ways you learn to be a better person and to be more, I don't know, if at least for me, sympathetic towards people that have had a different experience. And I think that all cultures throughout time have taken turns getting stomped on. I mean, in my mom's side, we've got a lot of American Indian, Scottish, and Irish predominantly. A lot of Irish, a little bit of French too. And the Irish, when they were coming to this country, boy, people hated the hell out of them. It was the same as, having colored bathrooms. It was like, no Irish here. We'll not hire Irish. We'll get the fuck out if you're Irish.
Yep. We'll have green-colored bathrooms.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was like they were hated just as much as anyone. And, it's like, it's weird how the wheel turns. But the good thing is that I would say most people that you run into in the Deep South here in Atlanta are not racist. They're not nasty. Everybody gets along. Everybody laughs together. Everybody is pretty chill most of the time where I am.
Let's just face it, the insanity for on the right and the left with the white nationalists or white crazies or whatever the hell you want to call them, and the Black Lives Matter and then the Antifa thing. Look at the reality; they're both incredibly tiny minorities,
and they're both getting it really wrong. That's they're both getting it so because it's so polarized, right? It's that Buddhist thing. The middle path is where you want to get, because when you go to extremes, you start looking a lot like each other. And you know, history and life are not as black and white as people want them to be. There's just so many shades of gray.
It's like trying to fight a Nazi by becoming a Nazi. Makes no sense.
Well, I think that there are also places like the Northwest where there was a battle, you know, like 30 years ago or whatever, you know, or more than 30 years ago, whatever, to sort of shun the white supremacist groups, because they were coming to the Northwest and they were trying to organize within the Northwest as like their new holy land. And if you ever see a flag that's the green, you know, the green, white, and blue of the Cascadian flag goes horizontal with the tree in the middle. Well, there's also one that's just green, white, and blue that's horizontal.
Right.
And that one is, you know, of this sort of Nazi dreamland or whatever. Good night, guys. Whoever's leaving. Alice.
Oh, good night,
Alice.
Good night, Alice. You take care. Have a good one.
Sorry, didn't
So all of the sort of the activists from back then are still alive. So any new sort of trying to rekindle that again is sort of met with there's a different sort of vibe to it, because there were times when it was much uglier, and you know, the side that said everybody can speak but you can't be hateful kind of thing is, you know what I mean. You could be hateful, just know that you're going to be hateful and everybody's going to shun you and everybody's going to, you know, rag on you, and that's just the way it is.
I mean, I grew up with...
Yeah, you have free speech. You don't have free speech without consequences.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that you know, you're not going to remain popular in town. And, you know, seeing as most places are at will employment, you know, your boss could fire you for any reason. So, I mean, we all take...
Well, that's a different thing.
Well, the thing about it is we all take that chance on the left. People get fired from their jobs for going out protesting against war or protesting for Black Lives Matter or other things. You know, they get eyeballed on Facebook or something, and they get fired. And that's just the way activism goes.
That shouldn't happen at all. That's literally getting rid of somebody's job because they held a political belief.
Well, I sort of agree with you. I'm just saying that, you know,
I think that ties into the whole how not all employers, but at least the larger corporations like to threaten people. That's more like attacking the workers of America sort of thing.
Well, I mean, you know, should they be police? Yeah. If they're KKK members, if they're seen with KKK members, you know, flying the KKK flag or whatever, and they're cops. I mean, or
cops should be heavily surveillanced.
Or
I mean, because if you're talking about that sort of shit, I mean, the cops are supposed to be neutral arbiters. You know,
well,
even though they haven't been, you know, and it's supposed to be protect and serve, even though they haven't been. But that is their origin. That's at least in this time, that is their objective and goal. You know, maybe they were originally founded on the slave catching things and all that, and that's completely fucking wrong and everything. But just what we are using them for now, okay, or what we were. The intention, which is completely blown out of fucking proportion. Now they got fucking military equipment. They harass everybody. They steal shit. They're worse criminals than a lot of the actual criminals.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but you know, the But I'm just saying the construct that the cops were supposed to be, like in our current situation here, from our perspective, protect and serve, neutral arbiter. Was that fair to say?
If we're going to monitor our police, at the same time, we should also be monitoring our representatives.
Yes, yes. Anybody that's given power over others for absolutely any reason.
They should be held under the same amount of scrutiny.
More scrutiny than the average person.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because they're in a position of power.
Exactly. Exactly. And for it to be the flip side, the other way around, makes absolutely no goddamn sense.
It's fucking insane.
Yep.
You made a good point, Bram.
Thank you.
Well, I'm of two. I'm of two minds about it. I'm with Kevin. It's a slippery slope when you start talking about people's employment and stuff. But that stuff happens, and as a community, that there are no laws against it. People have been fired for a lot worse things than being seen at a white supremacist rally, or a lot smaller things. Let's put it that way. Whatever way that works.
So there was a guy that wore the Arkansas shirt.
Oh yeah.
And people said that he worked there, and then they posted his phone number to get him fired. And then I actually posted that same picture on my Facebook. And then everybody goes, dude, that's wrong. That's not the guy. And I go, that's not the guy? Then where did I get it from? Somebody that didn't know? It's not the guy, so it's not the guy. So I took it down and I go, somebody give me a link to make sure this is the guy. Because if this is the guy, I'm all about I'm all about freedom of speech. Okay? Sorry. It's going in so many fucking directions here. People doing what, but I don't want to support them in any way, shape, or form. As a matter of fact, I don't. So I was like, if that guy's representing Arkansas, which is the Razorbacks, a great football team and good sports, and in a good college overall, he shouldn't be representing that school. So I took it down because I like I said, sometimes I just slap up posts because I'm pissed off. But I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't retweet any of those photos of people with names and stuff. I'm leery of any doing anything of that because, unless you're the person that does it and for positive because you've ID'd him and talked to his friends and everything else. I'm leery of, you put the finger on somebody that's wrong and suddenly everybody on the list is wrong. You know what I mean? It's got to be a perfect list. Or there can't be a list, one or the other, because it's one mistake is all it needs,
See, I'd love to see somebody run for office. Go, you know what? The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put up cameras in all of my rooms, and they're going to be broadcast
100% live feed at work.
Yep.
Well, you also
see a representative do that. I think that would be awesome to see.
That'd be incredible.
That would be.
How would you handle your personal capacity? Or are you saying you're under surveillance the whole entire time you have that job?
Exactly. That's exactly right.
No, that job, public and private life.
That is correct. Yes.
The DMV is
Big Brother DC.
It should be the voting.
Yeah, but instead of Big Brother DC, it's us, and we have live feeds to absolutely everything they do.
Yeah, it should be the Voting Republic watch.
Yes.
Group.
I might pay for that after hours or whatever it is that they have for that one, the Big Brother contest.
Wow.
Snork, what's your opinion on all this? Or thoughts you might have?
That's a good,
Well, first of all, I think when Congress shows up and goes into the state or the Capitol building, they should have to take a drug test. No more showing up drunk every day.
I agree with that.
We agree.
Breathalyzer.
You know, if you want to vote, when you walk up the roll call, take a or puff into the machine and give me a good hit.
And a urine test and a blood test too.
Yep, and no having their intern fill it.
Yeah.
But you know, the transparency needs to be there, and it's not. The rules need to be. I think we need to take all parties out of the state votes. State primaries got to go.
Yes.
I believe it's California that I'm not exactly sure on the rules, but I believe the top 5 voters, regardless of party, get it.
Yes.
On the main ballot, is that true?
Yes, I think that is correct here. Yeah.
Might not be 5, but it's some number.
Yeah, it's something like that. But you're close.
And it needs to be here first. I mean, we ruin it for everybody. So
yeah, small population electoral college, and you can kind of screw everyone.
And well, Iowa first or second out the gate, and I'm already seeing it line up for the corporatists.
That's what it all gets down to.
So does that mean everybody should move to Iowa and we basically wage a campaign war?
You know, 50,000 people moved to Iowa. That's all it would take to shift the vote. Maybe not even that much. Maybe even 10,000.
But there's so much corn. Can't take all the corn in Iowa.
Well,
and pig shit.
It's not all corn. Yeah, it's mostly pig shit.
Hey, we'll be the new children of the corn.
The pigs.
No, we'll be children of the pig shit.
Yeah, the pigs make as much manure as the city of New York and its surrounding communities.
I mean, you have a larger pig population than most states have people.
Yeah, we also have a larger chicken population. I believe that our chicken population is equal to the population of the United States. If chicken, we could win.
Wow.
If the chickens take over, they can win. If the chickens rebel, if the chickens team up with the pigs, we're fucked.
Well,
overthrown by the wildlife.
No.
They finally come after us for our factory farming practices.
Yeah.
In the primaries.
It's oink switch and chick switch.
Yeah.
In the last primary, I hadn't moved to the state officially yet, and I could not vote in the primary. The last primary, 4 votes, 4 people would have thrown it to Bernie. Because you have to not look at Des Moines, you have to look at the rural precincts. In the rural precincts, it could have thrown it. Because like this in this precinct or this county, 4 votes would have shifted it.
How does the redistricting work in where you're at?
Well,
could that negate any effect like that?
Redistricting in Iowa is different.
Different how?
It doesn't work like the redistricting in other states where you have I'm going to move everything to this race line. I'm going to move everything to this race line. It's that we have Des Moines, Iowa City, Waterloo, and Davenport that have the many precincts all in one area. And they can't gerrymander the districts. We only have 6 representatives, maybe only 5 now. But there's such a small number of districts that they end up having to have all of the rural precincts have just 100 or so people in them, and the Des Moines precincts are overwhelmingly tight and packed into an area, so they can't move those precincts all over the place to spread out the votes. So you have a precinct in Des Moines that'll be equally Democratic, Republican, or equally corporatist, populist, and
equally corporatist or corporatist.
Mm-hmm. So what happens is that the next election, I'm drifting away from my camera. The next election is going to be one in the rural areas, not in the cities. Now, we have a new factory coming up in this town. There's going to be 400 new jobs. That's going to switch the vote in this precinct. There is a new chicken farm going up in, I think, Maquoketa. That is going to shift the vote.
Chicken dance.
Yeah. I'll talk about a chicken shit election.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I think that one of the problems with the system of primaries we have now is this early state versus later states. They should do regionals, and because the West Coast, they should do regionals, and they should have debates in every region, because there are regional issues like climate change and drought is a big issue on the West Coast, but it was never covered properly in any of the debates. But it would have been had it been on the West Coast, where there's wildfires and earthquakes and other things that are sort of issues that are important to a lot of people that never get covered because they always backload California.
Don't be so sure that drought won't show up in the next Iowa. Iowa has several of its areas in severe drought right now, and it's predicted to continue to get worse. And the months that droughts hit matter in Iowa. They want August and September to be as dry as possible, but they want May and June to be moist. A good raining every day. What we got these extreme storms, tennis ball sized hail. We had $24,000 damage to this house, and probably $1,000 damage to my car. And within 7 miles of us, there was like 10 storms. And the area every day has got every roofing crew you could imagine out. Replacing siding, windows, everything on houses. And all of the crews in the state are basically booked.
Are you saying there's a lot of open positions for roofers?
Yeah, would you like to come up?
It sounds, how many and what's the pay like there? Because I've worked for a couple people, they try to dick you over.
The pay's probably not that bad. A lot of overtime. It's like I said, they have to get it all done by October. And everybody, there are just crews all over town, and it's been going since June. So there aren't a lot of places to stay in town right now. Because, town this size doesn't have that many hotels. But what's happening though is it's a lot of work, and a lot of people that were unemployed are having money to spend. But what does a loaf of bread cost where you live?
Yeah, because that can defeat the purpose of your pay in the first place. If you go to a place to go work and all the prices of everything are slightly higher, so effectively you're not making any more than if you were working somewhere else.
Yeah, so if you have to pay 88 cents a loaf of bread here compared to what you have, you might not be able to take that extra cost. If you have to spend $2.50 for a pound of hamburger, it makes it go up pretty fast too.
That's why I wish I had one of those little, not travel trailers, not for a person, but just one of those tool trailers that I can modify. Because I could slap solar panels on top and AC that would go in and out, have a bed in there, TV and everything, and that would be my insulated, of course. Put a small little heating system in it. That could be a perfect little work trailer to go anywhere.
Housing cost here, versus Los Angeles, is probably 5 to 10%.
So housing cost isn't really a big deal.
No.
Having mobile housing is kind of nice, especially if it's a small little trailer.
Oh, if you want a trailer house?
No, just kind of like it's kind of like the stage between. You want something to travel in where you could stay somewhere within relative comfort, but you don't want to buy a travel trailer. What I mean?
You just go down and buy a trailer here. $5,000, you're covered for the year.
Kevin, I get it.
My thing is like
solar panel
more of a
RV.
small camping sort of trailer thing. Not like a traditional trailer that you'd buy, but like the tool trailers you see with no windows or whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, you could turn one of those into a decent little, just a small portable little latrine in there, all your basic necessities and everything. You know,
there
just
are nice trailer houses here for $5,000.
Well, yeah, but I can get one of those trailers for a lot cheaper than that. You know,
You could get like a fifth wheel trailer used. You could get one probably $3,000.
I'm checking out my spam box.
Kevin.
Then plus you have a truck to put it on.
Here we go again.
Kevin, I did this for over a year. I lived in the back of I took a Ford Ranger,
Oh God, I couldn't. That would kill me. That would kill me after a while.
I put a cap on it. I just put a cap on it, and then on the inside I put insulation down on the floor. I put mattress in, and I put in like cubby holes for like a little microwave. I had a little TV on a little table, and then I had a refrigerator, one of those cube refrigerators, and a one of those heaters, and a can to piss in, at night, and that was it, man. And I'd crawl in there. That was my cave, and I did that for over a year down in Portland when I first came to Portland and started working on the steel mill there.
Yeah, I want something that I could stand up and move around in a little bit and make my coffee in and cook.
Yeah, well, you could do that, but it's I would cook in there. I mean, but I got a campsite plugged in, so I didn't pay for electric. So I had electric heater. I could get that thing up to about 100 degrees.
Oh wow!
Oh well, sometimes you don't have the opportunity of a campsite. I mean, I've made small little, just micro little wood stoves that work terrifically for heating a small area. For like an ice shanty, they're terrific. Just a small little compact one.
All right, guys. So tonight on Ariel's spam mail.
Oh God!
I love Ariel's spam mail.
Amongst all the offers to refinance my house and lose weight and go back to college with flexible online degrees, I've got these classics. From Erect on Demand, I got This Boner Brew Makes You a Better
What was that?
Say that again. Say that one again.
This Boner Brew Makes You a Better Screw.
What the fuck?
Then I got this one. Get a hot is in all caps. Get a hot date with the sexy Asian woman.
Is this affiliated with Russian mail order brides?
Wait, I'm trying to figure this out now. So you're going to use your super sexual, whatever that ultra scientific term was.
The boner brew.
Yeah, whatever that Hogwarts sounding stuff was. You're going to use that to go get yourself an Asian woman.
Yeah,
I'm interested.
I'm
interested.
Around the house, it's just not.
Yeah.
Where I can't get anything.
Where you get
it's the worst.
Ariel, you know me, I'm kind of free and easy. You can marry whomever you want. I just kind of that better screw thing. I you know what I mean. I can't say that I want to see it, because if I say I want to see it, it sounds, it sounds
I'm
a little
not opening this shit. I'm just reading the title. Okay, so the last one is Oldest Porn Star in the World finally reveals his mega hard-on secret.
What kind of stuff do you go to where you get spam dick emails?
Well, I got 3 dick emails out of like 20 that are asking me if I want to pay off credit card debt or buy Nutrisystem Lean or get a JCPenney reward. Lots of like home remortgaging, eat this food to crush diabetes, switch to Dish and get a free Amazon Echo Dot. What the hell is that? Like a new snack food?
No, it's the little round thing that talks to Amazon for you.
It spies on you.
Get free
complimentary spying.
Flight.
Buying by Amazon.
I get a free tactical flashlight. That'll help me find that sexy Asian woman easier.
Yeah, it'll help you find your boner brew when you drop it in the middle of the night.
Don't lose that. That's, you know.
I tell you, their algorithm for determining their demographic is absolute shit.
I'm just like, who comes up with this shit?
Exactly. Probably stupid people that would just want to capitalize off of people getting fucking boners by diabetic shit.
You know what the worst thing is? I guarantee there's people that fell for all those.
Sadly, yes.
Probably.
Yeah.
You do realize what country you're living in.
I can't make it up, man.
Well, you can just capitalize on fucking pretty much basic.
Home of the con artist.
I mean, if this was accurate, what I would be is an overweight guy with diabetes who's looking
and erectile dysfunction.
Bride, yeah, virile dysfunction. Who needs to go back to college and really's got to pay off his credit card debt, refinance his house.
Reverse mortgage. What could go wrong?
And get that tactical flashlight for doing an online survey.
like, what could go wrong? What could go wrong with having a last general election dominated by two con artists? I mean, what could go wrong?
Yeah, who would have ever guessed?
Well, I had people calling me here talking about senior living.
Uh-oh.
Oh, shit.
Are they trying to get you in a nursing home?
Yeah. I'm only in my early 50s.
Those people are they're predators. They'll come after your ass. You better be careful.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll be careful. I'm not falling for it.
Exactly. I would never want to be in a home, though.
Here's one that everybody needs to
don't get me wrong. Some people are perfectly fine with that, but you know, yeah.
Now hold on. Here's one that everybody needs
I
to
told my children, don't put me in any of those places.
I got a call about a couple months ago, and they said they were with the what department? They said they were with a department of the government that doesn't even exist. That gives out grants. It just randomly gives
grant giving department.
Yeah, apparently, and they said that all they needed in order to give me my money was my credit card number. That's all they need.
Oh yeah, we just need your credit card number, your birth certificate, your maiden name, your social security number. What's your phone number again? Can I get your email address?
I have no doubt that worked on a number of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
Unfortunately.
I saw it on the news. That worked because I had one call hit them up. We're from the IRS and you are in trouble with the U.S. government and the FBI.
But if you pay us this one-time sum, we'll leave you alone.
Yeah, those are scams too.
I just hang up on them now. I found that my husband has a whistle, so I'm going to blow a whistle in the phone now.
What's also fun is to try to sell them stuff. I pretend like, hey, you're a telemarketer, so am I. And then just do a whole skit on it. I find it hilarious.
One of the funniest things my mom ever said, and she says a lot of funny things to people that call her up. She said that what they did was they called her up and they started talking about some senior citizen thing. And my mom says to them, she says, but I'm not a senior, I'm senor.
Senor.
like she put on like a bad Mexican accent. She's like, I am senor. I was like, Mom, you're insane.
Nice.
She said, oh, hung up. Or she'll just answer it and be like, hey. Just like she knew who was calling. She's like, yeah, hey, what's up? She's in her 70s and she acts like this. So you kind of got to understand that's where I get some of my crazy.
like
if I can ever get my mom to come on the show, you'll start to understand. This is where Ariel got half of the shit.
I needed to look to see how boring I was compared to you, Ariel. I've got Sears. We need to talk.
They're going out of business. I bet they do need to talk.
I have the Market Conservative for some reason. ISIS isn't terror money. ISIS sent terror money to U.S. Opera. I don't know what the fuck this thing is. I don't know. It's some kind of really weird, like pseudo Wall Street right-wing politics thing. Anyhow, and then I also got the only other one besides like left-wing sites and stuff was Magical Butter. I got one from
Magical Butter.
I've got a Magical Butter machine.
Okay.
I'm missing the joke.
It's a machine that you put all your trim and stuff into.
Oh, never mind.
Grinds it up and it makes magical butter.
I thought you were. I thought the different joke. I thought it was a different joke entirely.
This thing's really cool. It holds it at a temperature, holds the butter and the stuff at a temperature.
So it mixes everything for you.
Also grinds it up, and it also then strips as much as it can out of it, and then you can sieve it out. Or I make brownies with all the stems, and they're exciting to eat. It's like eating the fish with big bones in it, but they're still really good brownies. That batch of brownies is always like kick ass because there's a lot of butter left. There's a lot of butter left in all that stuff. So.
Well, I'm going to bed, everyone.
All right, it was good to see you, Bram. You take care. Have a good one.
Good night, Bram.
See you again tomorrow. Have a good night, everyone.
I'm gonna go too.
Good night.
Hang up.
Good night.
Night.
Bye.
Bye,
everyone.
Gotta get something.
See ya.
Bye. Just take care.
It's a late
Good to hear
night.
you.
Take care. Bye.
Come again.
I'll be in the chat, but I just wanted to get off the phone.
Okay. Have a good one. You take care.
All right. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Yeah, I think too, when I'm just getting back to the subject of the seriousness, I think a lot of these folks just did not grow up with diversity. That's kind of how I feel, because it's like growing up in Georgia, it's like me and my sister, we always had friends from everywhere, like, Black, Latino, white, Asian. There's actually a huge Asian community in Atlanta. And it's like, it was never a thing. It was like, yeah, they're just our friends. It was never like, oh, well, this is that one, or this is that one, or, people of different religions, different cultures. And so it's like, we grew up it was normal. It wasn't like a thing. I don't know. And I think too, like, of course we watched a ton of Sesame Street, and like now when I look back at Sesame Street, like the old stuff, I'm like, there's a ton of diversity in Sesame Street. Like, there's kids from every culture. You had kids teaching you to speak, to count in Spanish, and everybody on the cast was very diverse. And it's so, I don't know, I feel like it is something that it's like, it's easier, of course, always in some ways when you're younger, because there was a picture circulating around of like this baby dressed up in a KKK hood, which is super creepy.
It is. It just sounds like, what?
There's that thing about
why the fuck would their parents want to dress up a kid in a fucking Klan robe?
There is a big thing about indoctrination and brainwashing at an early age to get people to act a certain way. And I think certain people are more like malleable to that kind of thing. Like if you do that, they'll take it in. But some people will question it. They'll be like, well, this is kind of messed up. It depends on the personality and who somebody is and the way they're going to assimilate that or not. But yeah, no, it's very frustrating, because I feel like in a lot of ways it's like, why haven't humans like evolved a little more? And again, I just get back to, we should be more concerned about the health of the planet, which is all of our home, and the fact that we're losing so many species of plant, animal life every single day. And those are the things that are really going to hit us all. And those are the things that we all have in common. We all bleed red, and we all need the same things. And we need clean water, and we need health care, and we need good food that's clean. And, you know, deep down, everybody needs and wants the same thing. And I think that a lot of it always comes out of fear. People are afraid of not having enough. It's a poverty scarcity thing. That's where so much of this comes from. It's like they're afraid, I'm not going to have enough. And, oh, I think that guy's taking it, so I'm going to go get mad at him. You know, we need to get back to freaking, you know, working together, because we don't have long to turn this ship around, if at all.
Yeah, and it's been a created poverty and a created scarcity thing. Like a lot of the, to an extent. I mean, there is scarcity, don't get me wrong, but the poverty thing's mainly a created issue.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, racism is taught.
Yeah.
And when I grew up going to school, I went to a school where it was multicultural.
Mm-hmm.
There were Cambodians that came here, went in the area I lived in, that lived on that side where I went to school. Where I went with Spanish, Cambodians, Asians. So I was surrounded, and I made sure my kids went to school around multicultural people.
Yeah.
Because I don't want them just to be, just African Americans. And I'm doing my granddaughter like that too, because she's going to school now where she's with a multicultural place.
Yeah.
And I think that's good.
It is. It enriches your experience as a human being.
Yeah.
It does.
Like my daughter, her best friend is Spanish.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
One moment.
You know.
I noticed Snork's reaction when the poverty and the scarcity thing came up. I was wondering if you wanted to say something on that.
No, I was playing a game of cards.
Oh, I thought you were like I saw like a weird reaction on your face.
But anyway, Shirley,
did you just lose?
I'm gonna respond to you. Yeah, my sister, when she was a kid in elementary school, and you know, 2 of her best friends were Spanish, and we hung out with them all the time, just constantly. They were at our house, or we were there, and you know, it was never a thing. I don't know. It's just so funny. It's so sad to me that, you know, people can't see the strength and diversity and how it.
I dated a Spanish guy.
I
have an aunt. My aunt, who's my grandmother's sister. Her best friend was Spanish, so she speaks Spanish fluently.
Wow.
And one time she was in the supermarket, and these 2 Spanish women were in there talking in Spanish. And they were talking about her, and she fired back at them in Spanish.
Oh.
And they were shocked.
Yep. Yep.
They were shocked.
That's funny.
Well, you had to see, like where I live, Shirley, I lived in, when my boy was little, we lived in Chester at Sun Village.
Uh-huh.
So we had people of all types. So you had to see all the little rascals, man, on our block. You know, we had like it was funny because we had like kids of all types. I mean, we had these little kids it was like a whole bunch of little Puerto Rican boys, and they would come around and they would bring a shovel, and they'd say, "Well, Ed, can we shovel your block? You know, shovel your thing?" And my wife would say, "Yeah." So they'd go along and shovel it off, and you know, she'd pay them, and they'd go along and they'd run off to the store, you know. But they were always so cute, man. Like my kid got a wagon, so they gave him rides around the block because they were like, "Oh, this is cool," you know. They all went around the block. And, you know, I mean, it was a lovely time, and lots of different types of people, and that's always good, you know. I grew up in a place where there was no diversity, you know, and so I like places where everybody's cool with each other, and there's a vibe that there isn't sort of an undertone all the time of, oh my God, when's the next whatever going to happen?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's diversity in my neighborhood where I live at now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the thing. Washington State, they were trying to make out like Washington State's white. We aren't white. We're like the 5th most diverse state in the country. You know, we've got a little bit of everything, but we have a lot of Hispanic people. We have a lot of Asian people.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we've got, it's like anywhere else. There's like a lot of transplants in the Northwest. And so, you know, and you have other things that are just sort of, you know, we have a large indigenous population in Oregon and Washington.
That's true.
So, you know.
When I lived in
Oregon, do you remember the Divine Lorraine Motel here in Philadelphia?
I don't know if I've heard of it or not.
No, it was actually broken.
Oh, okay.
No, wait a second. What kind of hotel was it?
Divine Lorraine Motel on Broad Street in Philly. It was a black pastor that owned it years ago. This was abandoned for years.
It used to be like a flop house, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're remodeling it now.
Oh, far out. I mean,
yeah.
You know,
yes, they're making some expensive homes over there.
I wish they'd do it like it used to be and just make it so it's like a place where people with no money can stay overnight or rent it for a week or whatever they can afford to do to get people out of the cold in the winter and into the cool in the summer, you know?
No, it's not for that, broken. It's for people with money.
Oh, man.
It's going to be a high-end housing thing, isn't it?
Oh, God.
Huh? It's what's that called? The gentrification?
Yeah.
Yeah, gentrification.
Where they screw all the housing prices, run everybody out, buy everything out, bulldoze everything, and move rich people in.
It's the worst.
Yep.
Well, you know, it was like, the thing about it, it was like the last, it's like the last victim of when they came in and they did, what the hell did they call it? Urban renewal in the 70s. When they did that, what they did was they did several things at the same time.
Urban destruction.
There were several suits by the ACLU or whomever about issues of mental state mental hospitals, and suddenly there's no more sort of state mental hospital set up. And then they also did the urban renewal and tore down all the old hotels and stuff. And yeah, I remember the Lorraine Hotel was one of the last ones, you know, and when it was running, it wasn't the friendliest place in the world, if I remember.
Yeah, they didn't tear it down. They just remodeled it.
Well, yeah, because see, the thing is, it's cheaper. Surely, if they knock it down, they got to pull all new permits and do everything fresh. If they rebuild it, if they do remodeling work on them, it's cheaper in the long run because they use the materials that are still there. And if it needs upgrades, they upgrade it as little as they can, and then throw some shiny shit on top of it to make it all look pretty, and basically just close in whatever dirt and crap was in there and sell it to rich people. Yeah, I know how that works.
Yeah. And that's just like in my mother-in-law area. She's by Temple University. Oh, my God. You know, they tore down Benjamin Franklin High. I think it was William Penn High School. They knocked that down. They got a field over there now.
Wow.
And they
No kidding.
They want to build, huh?
The Billy Penn House.
No, William Penn High School. They tore that down on Broad Street, and now it's a field for Temple University. Now they want to take out a neighborhood part of North Philadelphia to build a football field because the link charged too much money for them to play. But then you're going to push people out of the neighborhood.
Yep.
That lived there for years.
Yep.
Even Temple students are protesting against that.
Yep.
Well, here's the thing, Shirley. Aren't these same? These are the same, like Philadelphia or anywhere. These are the same places. We built stadiums with state-of-the-art systems everywhere for NFL games. And those things sit empty when they're not being played, and they play on Saturday. Last time I heard, unless it's preseason, they don't play on Saturday in the NFL. So there's no reason that Temple can't use it. And what is it down there? PSU? I can't remember the other university down. Penn's down there. All the universities can use that. It just got to schedule it right. You know what I mean? I mean, they got to figure out something. Because asking people to build something or asking people to give up a school, a neighborhood to give up, and in Philly, neighborhood schools are small. They're not big. They're nice. They used to be. It was kind of nice because the kids didn't have to walk far to go to their school, and and depending on where you live now, at the time even you couldn't just have kids walking through, from their neighborhood or getting on the bus and going from their neighborhood to a totally different neighborhood because it wasn't necessarily safe for kids from that neighborhood to go into the other neighborhood. It was like they use the city buses. Don't they still do that?
Yeah, they still do, but them Temple students are so nasty because some of them live next door to my mother-in-law, and them homes on that block going for like $500,000.
Yep.
In the heart of North Philly, and drug dealers are like down the
So
street around
snobby
the corner.
rich kids? Is that where you're getting at?
They're not snobby rich kids, but
are you saying they're banished?
My mother-in-law just told me today, sure, we got rats walking around in the streets in daylight. They never had that before. They had Temple students. These people buy these buildings, and then they rent out to students, and the students just throw garbage out way before trash day.
Yeah, okay.
I'm a little confused on that whole situation.
What?
Explain the Temple thing's a school, right?
Yeah, Temple. I'm talking about off campus. This is off campus.
Yeah, they invest in a house in one of those areas. So they pay the $500,000, but what they do is they build like 15 apartments in it, or rent it to 20 people as a big house. And then that's how they do it. And so they get back. They're making money off campus students, and it's another way of basically
ripping people off and putting a price on your education.
Well, that's just one of those things. I think they should house and feed all the kids through that time, or young adults, whatever.
Free education and free housing while you're going to school makes perfect sense, because these people 10, 15 years down the line, they're going to be the new electricians, the new carpenters, the new, you know what I mean? It's
I don't think anybody going to school for that right now. Those are trade schools.
Not necessarily. I went for electrical technology.
All right, here you go, Kevin, to show how smart you are. Or actually, history has already shown that you're exactly right, and that is my wife, who as a Shirley, it's about Swarthmore, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she went there, and she was a carpenter when I met her. She was a union carpenter, so there you go.
Yeah, because when I went to high school, Simon Grad, they had auto mechanic shop. They took all that stuff away out of the schools. You had home economics. You had to learn how to sew and things like that. They took that stuff
they don't
away.
want to give life skills, stuff that you can use permanently and add on to it and build on it. They don't want to give anybody that, because then people might start getting smarter, and that's scary to them.
Or get richer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole economic system, even if you're highly educated, you can be fucked pretty severely.
But you know what? I wanted to tell you about, remember Trump on his campaign? I heard him one time. I didn't watch the whole thing, but he mentioned, he said, you know, he was talking about education. He said, you remember that one kid in your classroom in school? He wasn't good in the classroom, but he could take a television apart and put it back together.
Yeah.
We need trade schools back. That's exactly what he said.
Yes.
And not like life skills, how the government defines it. I mean, because their life skills are a totally different thing. It's like, be a good, obedient little slave.
Well, you know what's funny is people, this is a story that just gets me every time. My sister has a kid, and when he was about 2 or 3 years old, he's mildly autistic, and so they had him in all these programs and all these damn things, poking and prodding him. And my dad went with her to one of these meetings for the kid. And one of the things they asked is, does he have any computer skills? We're talking about a 2 or 3 year old kid. Does he have computer skills?
Ooh.
The fuck is a 2-year-old?
Because I'm an adult, and I just, whenever I don't want my kid, I just throw a tablet in front of his face. Yeah, that's a great idea.
It's become this normal thinking that as soon as the kid can freaking move around a little bit, you throw him in front of a blinking screen all the time.
Has he gotten his zombie training at the age of 3 yet? That's basically what they're asking.
I mean, yeah, exactly.
Has he been stupefied?
Has he learned how to be a good little consumer? Is he, you know, I mean, it's
because kids that age, they don't even know how to use an internet as a tool. It's just games and playing around and all that for them.
Oh my God. I mean, it's just, I grew up in the era before all that started, you know, so it's like I still have that memory of a world without all of that. And if you wanted to think of something to do, you had to be creative. You had to
I grew up on Super Nintendo, damn it.
You had to draw something, you had to go outside and make up a game. You had to, you know, use that creative part of yourself. And so now that everything is done for these kids, the creativity just goes right down because they've got it all done for them. They don't have to think of something. They don't have to create anything. So it's just, it puts them on autopilot. I mean, when I think about my mother growing up in the 40s, she had 2 dresses, one for every day and one for, you know, nice occasions. They used an ice
good old days.
washing machine. They had to use a hand crank and a washboard. If you wanted your clothes clean, that's the way you were going to do it. So
I remember them washboards.
Yeah, it made you very creative. It made you come up with all sorts of skills. And so my mom's mother sewed, so she would watch her sew. My mom is this incredible seamstress as a result. Anyway, I'm getting ready to take off, but I wanted to let you know, Shirley, I put up a link on Twitter, and I tagged you in it, and you too, Carpenter. It's a documentary that I watched called Lost Angels. It used to be on Netflix, but I found it on YouTube. It's excellent. It's a lot about gentrification in Los Angeles. It gets into the whole thing when Reagan defunded, you know, mental centers for people's health and how a lot of them ended up on Skid Row and out in the streets.
Yeah, and when Reagan disarmed the Black Panthers.
Yeah, so it's a really, really good documentary. I saw it a while back and it really stuck with me. Like it's very touching. It's very moving because it really gets into some of the relationships between the people that are living on the street and how it's almost like they kind of made lemonade out of lemons. You know, it's like, well, okay, we don't have the hospital to live in anymore. So now we're in the projects, and then you know, you've got these rich developers that come and they want to take that away too, and it's just really you'll need some.
Well, the projects in general are kind of screwy as subsidized housing goes, because basically it disadvantages you while you're trying to get a job so you can get some form of mobility. Because if you make any more money, because they take a percentage, they don't take a flat rate.
Yeah, point being though is that it's like these people were trying to make the best of a bad situation.
I mean, it's just like sales tax. It disproportionately affects poorer people.
Many of them were mentally ill or dealing with physical disabilities that they literally couldn't go get a job or anything like that. I mean, a lot of them were older seniors at the end of their life and, you know, living the very best they could, you know, hanging on to each other. And it's just, it's a real picture. It's a real, you know, it's a really good document. It's very good. So.
Hey, Ariel, I have to ask you a question. Do you watch TV?
I don't really watch a lot of TV, but I do have Netflix.
What's a new show on NBC called? And that when I thought about you when I was watching it, because I like it.
Oh,
it just started. It's up to the 4th episode now. It's called Midnight Texas.
Okay.
And it's about this town called Midnight. Everybody have a past and a history. But some people have like powers, and then you have people that read other people and things like that.
Okay,
so I thought about you.
Kind of a little supernatural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems pretty good.
That sounds
and
like my
one
alley.
guy, he flies with wings, and nobody know it.
Right. That sounds cool. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
But I'll see y'all later. I'm gonna go get something to munch on.
Okay, bye, Ariel. One more thing.
Night, Ariel.
I'm gonna go to bed.
Have a great night.
Night, Snark.
I'll be on the chat too. I'll be on the chat.
Yeah, I think I'm going to. Night, everybody.
Night. Have a good one.
Night, Kevin.
Done with the night.
Oh, hell's bells. I start eating nuts right now. Okay, I'll wait.
Erik going?
If anyone wants to still continuously go right ahead. If not, we could, you know, end it here. I mean, really, I really have nothing, you know.
I'm cool with that. We've wrapped out a bunch of stuff tonight. I'm cool with that.
Okay. Well, bye, everybody. Love everybody. You guys take care. Love everyone in the chat. Bye, everybody.
All that good
You guys
stuff.
take care. Have a good one.
Is Hard Pastor doing anything tomorrow, Erik?
He won't be back until Wednesday.
Wednesday. Okay.
All right.
I'm in withdrawal.
Oh, I'm good. I'm good for now. You have yourself a good
night.
one. Good night.
And you too. Good night.
Bye-bye.